me see this. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Paris. Sorry for the delay. City of Paris Planning Commission meeting, October 18, 2023 at 6:10 p.m. We appreciate the coolness of the inside because of the warmth of the outside, right? We start off with the roll call, and we appreciate our secretary to go and take the roll call.
Commissioner Lopez,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Present.
Commissioner Gomez,
Here.
Vice Chair Shively,
Here.
Chair Hammond.
Here. Thank you very much. At this time, we have a Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Lopez. Would you please stand?
Please stand for the pledge.
Item 4 is presentation. I don't believe we have a presentation. So we move on to item 5, consent calendar. Planning Commission minutes for October 4th, 2023. Are there any discussions, any deletions, any additions for the consent calendar minutes? Anybody? Okay, seeing none, we open it up for public comment on the consent calendar. It's a formality, I know. Public comment on the consent calendar. Is anyone from the public like to comment on the consent calendar item minutes? Seeing no public comment, we bring it to the commission for a motion. It's been moved by Commissioner Lopez, seconded by Commissioner Gomez.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote for 5-0, this motion is approved.
Thank you very much. We move on to item 6A, public hearing. Specific Plan Amendment 21-05249 and Development Plan Review 21-00014, continued from the September 20th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. A proposal to facilitate the construction of a 300-unit multifamily residential development located at the southwest corner of Ryder Street and Evans Road, consisting of the following. Number 1, specific plan amendment to amend the May Ranch specific plan to rezone 14.68 acres from commercial zone to multifamily residential zone, and to create multifamily residential standards for planning area 22. And 2, development plan review for the site plan, building elevations, and recreation amenities. Requested action is adopt resolution number 23-30, recommending that the City Council adopt the mitigated negative declaration number 2391 and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and approve specific plan amendment 21-05249 and development plan review 21-00014 to facilitate the construction of a 300-unit multifamily residential development based on the findings and subject to conditions of approval. I believe we have some additions. I think one is stated conditions of approval revised October 17, 2023. That's been submitted. September 11, 2023, sorry. DPR 21-0014, May Ranch specific plan. And there have been some modifications to this one. So it's City of Paris given to us item 6A for review. And October 27, 2022, Matthew Evans. Conditions of approval, again, some changes, which I will let the staff note. There's about item 6A, and I'm not sure what the changes were, but I'll let staff discuss it. Just putting it on the record that this will be part of the administration. And is there any ex parte communication, any site visits, anything for this particular project? Once again.
So I had, I had a site visit and also an ad hoc meeting with them.
Site visit, ad hoc meeting, and drive by there 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times a day.
I drive by the site regularly.
I drive by the site regularly. That's it.
Definitely drove by the site and looked at it. Okay. And with that, we turn it over to the city, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Chair Hammond, members of the Planning Commission. Matthew Evans, great to be back. Thank you for that introduction. So we'll just move right along with the project. So just for the benefit of those in the audience who may not be familiar with the site, I know this came back, this was before you on September 20th, but this is a aerial photo of the site. Its surrounding uses: north is single-family neighborhood, east is a single-family neighborhood, south is a single-family neighborhood, and west is vacant property. Project location, again, this is in the May Ranch Specific Plan. The May Ranch Specific Plan is zoned commercial. North is the New Horizons Specific Plan, single-family residential. To the east and to the south is also the May Ranch Specific Plan, R54, single-family residential. And to the west is community commercial. The proposed project is a proposal to amend the specific plan and the land use plan for the May Ranch specific plan to rezone the subject property from commercial to multifamily residential to facilitate the construction of 300 units on 14.68 acres. This is a site photo from Ryder Street facing south. Site photo from Evans Road facing west. So during the last Planning Commission meeting, the project was continued specifically from the September 20th meeting to the October 18th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, that's today, to allow the applicant to address various issues, including revisions to the site plan to address parking setbacks and other related issues, 3-story views into the neighboring properties, the westerly driveway on Ryder Street, revisions to architecture to address building massing, materials, and colors, architectural renderings, and the raised median and curb adjacent to the parkway. Since that time, the applicant was able to meet with the ad hoc committee. That was held on October 4th. And the applicant met to discuss the changes that they had made since that September 20th meeting and wished to discuss those with the ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee did indicate that they that they felt positively about the changes and gave positive feedback to the applicant, but asked the applicant to consider a few changes that we will address as we go through this presentation. One of those was to relocate the trash enclosures further away from the building entrances and adjacent structures. The other was redesigning the westerly driveway on Ryder Street as a right turn only exit. And the third request was to provide elevations for carports. In addition to those requests, the ad hoc had a brief discussion with the applicant regarding the design for Ryder Street. There wasn't a divided parkway between the curb and sidewalk like you have on the opposite side, on the west side of Ryder. As staff mentioned at that time, the street is designed per the general plan and the specific plan, the May Ranch specific plan. And that's, and the street is actually dedicated and constructed to its full width. And so that's why there's not the same design that you have on the other side of the street. So we just made that clarification to the ad hoc at that time. So here we have the previous site plan from the last meeting. As far as the unit count and the project description, nothing's really changed. You have 17 detached buildings consisting of 91 one-bedroom, 167 two-bedroom, and 43 three-bedroom units, 300 covered parking spaces, and 203 covered parking spaces, primary access along Ryder Street, and a secondary access along Evans Road. Emergency access is not going to be a situation here because as we'll go through this, we'll talk about that. So that the third driveway becomes a right in, right out. So here you have the revised site plan. And the major differences we'll go through, but you can probably tell from looking at the site plan, major differences are that there is no longer a fitness building in the rear of the swimming pool area to the east. That has been removed and consolidated with inside the recreation building. The other big major change here is there is no longer an emergency access for the third driveway off of Ryder Street. That is a right in, right out. And again, we'll talk about that as we move through the presentation. This is the previous dimension site plan. This is the revised dimension site plan. This has the proper setbacks between the property lines and all of the buildings, and the setbacks between buildings, as well as setbacks between structures. So you have a fully dimensioned site plan that was requested by the Planning Commission. The applicant also provided a new parking plan. The parking plan shows the location of all assigned and guest parking spaces, as well as all ADA accessible parking spaces as requested by the Planning Commission. We also have a new ADA path of travel site plan, again, as requested by the Planning Commission. And this shows how somebody who is, how wheelchair accessibility is achieved throughout this entire site. So one of the other issues was that the Planning Commission had brought up as a concern was views into the neighboring properties. So the applicant did a good job here of illustrating what that looks like. So what we have is a 104-foot setback provided from the rear of the existing single-family residences to the rear of the three-story buildings. A 55-foot setback provided from the rear of the existing single-family residences to the side yard of the third-story buildings. And in the overall design, the number of windows at the side yard elevations have been reduced. Balconies have been moved to avoid direct views into the neighboring properties. Westerly driveway on Ryder Street, as I discussed earlier, staff confirmed with the fire marshal that there's no requirement for a third point of emergency access needed at this location. The two ingresses and egresses serve the project as designed. Thus, the driveway has been redesigned to allow egress for right turn only exit onto Ryder Street. And as you can see here, the actual design of the one-way exit kind of forces that traffic to turn right. Previous architectural design, revised architectural design. So we're just going to go through the changes that were proposed by the applicant since you last saw this project. Previous elevations, so these are your previous elevations. I think one of the main concerns was the massing of the building and the parapet walls rather than having pitched roofs on some of these elevations. And so you can see here, some of those buildings do have that parapet flat roof rather than pitched roof. There are some pitching here. Based on comments from the Planning Commission, the applicant has revised the elevations to provide pitched roofs and to break up that massing a little bit better, some movement with the buildings. And as we move through this, we'll go through materials and colors as well that have changed. So you can see the difference between the two proposals. This was back in September 20th, and as proposed today. And these are the two-story buildings. So previous elevation for the three-story buildings, these are buildings 200A. Again, we have parapet roofs, flat roofs. Oh, my apologies. I went too fast here. Well, My apologies. I left out that slide that shows the difference, but essentially what you have is the same architectural styles and the same building massing for the 3-story buildings, which you have in your packet. So previous amenities elevations, this is the clubhouse and the fitness center that has now been combined. These are those elevations. And then you have the proposed elevation, so this becomes one building, and it's also been redesigned to closely match the architectural design of the residential buildings. Here's another view. And so here you have the previous materials board. As you may recall, the applicant was originally proposing some, like an asphalt shingle roof and just some more simple materials. They've come back with a revised materials board, so you now have some shed roofing over some of those windows with exposed brackets. You have darker window casings rather than just that white vinyl. You have the introduction of some brick and other masonry in the project as well. That asphalt shingle roof now becomes a tile roof, or I'm sorry, cement roof, cement shingle. And we also asked the applicant to provide some an exterior lighting example so that you can see what that lighting looks like. This is the previous color scheme. I think one of the comments that the Planning Commission had made is they thought the overall color scheme was a bit dark. The applicant has come back with a much lighter color scheme with more lighter grays introduced and taken out those darker reds. At the ad hoc meeting, it was brought up that they wanted, the ad hoc wanted to see what the carport would look like. So here we have an example of that carport. And then you have some trash enclosure detail. And the applicant did take to heart the comment about moving the trash enclosure away from those entrances, but still located in a place where it has that ADA accessibility and can easily be picked up on trash day. I think one of the other concerns was I think the Planning Commission wanted to see some different perspectives rather than just the buildings itself. So we asked the applicant to give us a couple different perspectives, and this one is obviously of the corner at Ryder and Evans Street, and you also have a nighttime perspective as well. And then that Ryder Street cross section, this shows how the street has been dedicated and constructed. Ryder Street has a combination curb gutter sidewalk along this side of the street. I know that's different from the opposite side of the street where you have that parkway. So we just wanted to provide that detail to you. Mitigated negative declaration. Public agencies and property owners within 300 feet radius were notified of the project. Email from concerned citizens in opposition to the project. Their comment didn't raise any additional environmental concerns at that time. Staff recommendation is to adopt resolution number 2330. Recommends to the City Council adoption of mitigated negative declaration 2391 and approve specific plan amendment PA 2105249 and development plan review DPR 21-00014 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. Now, quickly, we'll go over those changes that you mentioned. Since the publication of the packet, the Planning Commission packet, the applicant noticed a few items in the conditions of approval for from the city engineer and Public Works Department, and so revisions were made, and I'll go through those real quick. On the Public Works conditions of approval dated October 17th to me, the first condition of approval reads dedication and/or landscape maintenance easement. Offer of dedication and landscape maintenance easement for City Landscape Maintenance District shall be provided as follows. Ryder Street, provide offer of dedication as needed to provide for full half-width street, 92-foot right-of-way, 76 half-width curb gutter sidewalk, and off-site landscaping requirements per city general plan, including minimum 14-foot public parkway from face of curb. The previous condition was for 94 feet, so that's the change on the Public Works condition of approval. For the condition of approval from the city engineer, condition number 5 now reads, 2 driveways are permitted on Ryder Street. The westerly driveway shall be restricted to right turn only. The easterly driveway shall accommodate full turn movements. Number 9 has been changed to read, the width and length of the striped left turn lane pocket in Ryder Street at the easterly driveway shall be designed by a traffic engineer and approved by the city engineer. And last, condition number 11 reads, Ryder Street is classified as an arterial 92-foot/64-foot wide per the May Ranch specific plan. The developer, property owner shall dedicate adequate right-of-way along property frontage to accommodate 64 feet of half-width right-of-way. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant also has a presentation that they would like to present as well before we get into questions from staff. Thank you.
Yes, and that is the change. So would the applicant like to come forward and make a presentation, then we'll reserve the questions and comments. Just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Hi, good evening. I am Katie Rounds. Last name is Rounds. Thank you for the thorough presentation from staff. A lot of what I have in mind, many of you, with the exception of Commissioner Lopez from the September 20th hearing, have already heard. I'll try to quickly go over the points that Mr. Evans has already prepared, but for the benefit of Mr. Lopez, I will go through the entire presentation. So good evening, Chair Hammond and Commissioners. I am Katie Rounds with the Cadence Group. I'm here this evening on behalf of the May family. They're a long-term property owner of the undeveloped property located at the southwest corner of Ryder and Evans. We're before you again this evening to represent the multifamily project and the revisions we have made based upon your feedback from the September 20th Planning Commission hearing and subsequent ad hoc meeting with Commissioners Shively and Jimenez. I'd like to quickly reintroduce the team that I have with me this evening, as they will be available at the conclusion of this presentation to answer any questions that you might have this evening. With me, I have the property owner, Brian Rosenstein and Keith Geiger. I have our architect, Chris Williams with TCA, our civil engineer, Michael Brendeke. I always say it wrong. I knew I was going to get it wrong. With AdCan Engineers, our landscape architect, Jack Hayden with C2, our environmental specialist, Ray Hussey with N Planners, traffic engineer, Sandy Pan with Translutions. As you might already know, this project is located within the May Ranch Specific Plan and Planning Area 22, which is currently designated as a commercial use. When the plan was originally designed, it was believed that this parcel would best serve as a commercial use. After the specific plan came to life in the late 1980s and later revised in the early 2000s, the build out of neighborhoods and changes made to the plan no longer support this property as a commercial use, given its placement in the middle of an established residential neighborhood. With conversations of, with the conversion of this property from commercial to residential, the May family will still retain approximately 70 acres of undeveloped commercially zoned property within the specific plan. An area is much better suited for commercial use, which they intend to develop in the future once there are enough rooftops to support those future retail tenants. The approval of this residential project helps accelerate the development timeline for those commercial properties as well. As mentioned before, this project will be located at the southwest corner of Ryder Street and Evans Road in the currently undeveloped parcel totaling 14.68 net acres. The project has residential homes to the immediate south, homes to across from Evans, to the east, residential homes across Ryder Street to the north. To the west is land used by Southern California Edison and the Paris Valley storm drain, creating a natural barrier between our project and the future development to the south. On this slide, you will see a wider pulled back perspective of the site location placement in the overall May Ranch specific plan. Our request before this evening includes approval of the Fourth Amendment to the MRSP for rezoning and development standards, approval of our development plan, and approval of the mitigated neg deck, showing no significant impact with implementation of the project design, features, and mitigation. This mitigated neg deck was provided in the staff report and includes the following technical studies. Please also note that these technical studies were scoped, drafted, and finalized under the direct supervision and oversight of city staff. The results of all of the technical studies resulted in the findings of no significant environmental impact. These reports include the traffic impact analysis, noise impact analysis, biological technical report, paleo resource assessment, air quality impact analysis, and greenhouse gas analysis. The May family is committed to continuing their longstanding involvement in the city of Paris and intends to be a long-term owner and manager of the properties they plan to develop in Paris. As part of this commitment, our team provided preliminary project designs, including site plans and elevations, to all property owners within 300 feet of the proposed project prior to finalizing the design with city staff so we could incorporate any of their comments or suggestions. As a follow-up to this letter, we also held a neighborhood meeting that all property owners within 300 feet were invited to. The outcome of these letters and meetings resulted in acknowledgments of support and excitement for the project, as well as some concerns about the impact of the new development that we were able to address once neighbors understood that a residential project was a better fit than a commercial project, which is currently allowed by right. Additionally, the May family has joined the Paris Chamber of Commerce and has sponsored 2 of their recent events to demonstrate our commitment to the business owners of the community, that we are here to support their growth by allowing additional residents to live and work within the city of Paris through this proposed project and future commercial developments as well. Given the reasons previously discussed, we do not believe that this property is best suited for a commercial use and are seeking the rezone to a less intensive use of multifamily. This table before you here is going to be a summary of the proposed project, what the existing standards of multifamily and the PA 22 zoning area allow, and the commercial, which is our allowed by right use. The current May Ranch specific plan has existing development standards for current and future multifamily projects, which I have summarized in the center column of this table. To the right are the development standards for the commercial use allowed by right. In order to bring forward a superior multifamily community, our team has carefully crafted a site plan and building design that does not require any reductions to the current multifamily standards, and in most cases, we are falling far below or above those standards as demonstrated in the proposed project column. For example, we are 5 feet below the maximum building height for multifamily and almost 20 feet less than the allowable building height by right for commercial. Furthermore, our density is at 17.98% when we are allowed up to 21%. Our lot coverage is only at 27% compared to the maximum allowable of 50%. And our landscape percentage is at 28%, which has been revised by the removal of the fitness building, when only 15% is required. We are presenting a project that is asking for 0 relief from previously approved development standards, and we believe we have gone above and beyond to provide a project exceeding all expectations set by the city. The proposed site plan has a main entry central to the project, arriving on a grand recreation and community building. Connected to the recreation and community building are 2 open space paseo areas that are linked on each side of the community, focusing on pedestrian movements and connectivity within the community. Interwoven through the community are typical parking and vehicular movements for easy access to all units, but screened from the street frontages. All buildings facing Ryder and Evans are oriented with the fronts of the buildings facing the street to further integrate into the single-family home community. While the community will be gated, we are including open metal fencing around the northern and eastern street frontages to become part of the existing community and not screen ourselves from it. Based on feedback from the previous Planning Commission hearing, And as previously discussed by Mr. Evans, we have removed the detached fitness building along the southern property line and are incorporating that into the main recreation building. Additional landscape has been added in place of this fitness building. Vehicular access is being proposed at 3 project driveways. The primary point of ingress and egress will be at the center of the proposed project along Ryder Street with a full turning movement, including left-hand turn pocket within Ryder to accommodate the cars entering the project. There will be a right-hand exit only to the west of the main drive along Ryder, with the previously proposed emergency access option removed based upon concerns raised at the previous Planning Commission hearing. And a secondary project driveway along Evans that will be limited to a right-in, right-out due to an existing raised median. As part of the approved traffic study, traffic projections at specific study intersections and the proposed project driveways were studied under existing conditions, opening year conditions, and at year 2040 conditions. And in each scenario, all study intersections and project driveways will operate at a satisfactory level of service under the proposed design. Our proposed community does go above and beyond the minimum requirements for amenities and outdoor open spaces. Some of these amenities are highlighted here on the slide. Upon entering the gated community, you're greeted by the beautiful clubhouse and leasing office that will incorporate multiple community gathering areas for family events and community gatherings. The clubhouse will also include a fitness center, lounge, and secure mail package delivery room. Adjacent to the clubhouse will be access to the outdoor paseo areas by the community pool. Flanking each side of the clubhouse, you will find 2 grassy paseo areas. The western paseo will include a children's play area with shaded seating area for parents, open picnic-style tables for outdoor family dinners, and a large open lawn area that can be used for outdoor yard games. The eastern paseo will include bench seating under shade trees, a shade structure with movable furniture for family gatherings, a small gated dog park, and a second open lawn area for outdoor games such as bocce ball and cornhole. The community pool and hot tub will be located directly outside of the clubhouse for easy access during family parties or events. The pool will include a selection of varied seating areas, inviting both adults and children to enjoy. As previously mentioned, this amenity area has been revised to remove the detached fitness building, and that area is now being reconfigured with the additional landscape and hardscape as shown on this slide. Our community is going to incorporate an arrangement of 2- and 3-story buildings housing approximately 300 new apartment homes with a mixture of 1-, 2-, and 3-bedroom units. The one-bedroom units making up 30% of the units, 2 bedrooms making up 56% of the units, and 3 bedrooms making up 14% of the units. The mixture of these units were determined based upon an extensive market study in the area. The site was designed to situate the 2-story buildings along Ryder and 3-story buildings towards the center and rear of the project to seamlessly fit into the surrounding neighborhood. On this slide here, this was also shared by Mr. Evans. You'll find a side-by-side elevation comparison from the previous September 20th Planning Commission hearing and the revised elevations based upon the feedback from that hearing and subsequent ad hoc meeting. The top rendering, noted as revised, is going to be a new revised. The bottom is going to be from the previous 920 design. We've now incorporated a traditional craftsman-inspired architectural look with shed roofs and gables that create a variety of massing, interest, and movement. We have enhanced materials to include board and batten siding and brick to give identity to each unit. Roof materials have been replaced with a concrete shingle roof with depth and character. We have also incorporated a lighter color palette with accent colors at focus point and strategic corners. Here is a closer look at the color and material board. I think there's a physical board that is being handed around as well. The details for this include some of the board and batten, cement roof tiles, brick cladding, and lightened color palette. As requested at the September 20th Planning Commission hearing, we've included perspectives from the single-family homes to our south in relation to the proposed 3-story buildings. Site Section A at the top shows the distance between the single-family homes and the parallel 3-story buildings, which are separated by approximately 105 feet. The bottom section shows distance between the single-family homes and the perpendicular 3-story buildings flanking the pool area, which are approximately 30 feet from the property line and 55 feet from building to building. The rendering to the right shows the perspective as if you are standing in the single-family backyard looking at the 3-story perpendicular building, with the proposed landscape adding additional privacy. Please note that these 2 perpendicular buildings only occur for approximately 115 of the 1,359 linear feet total of that property line, which is only 8% of that southern property line. The remaining 1,244 linear feet of that shared single-family wall will be separated by approximately 105 feet of distance. Those neighbors were also provided these plans and have not expressed concern. The interiors of these homes will include an open floor plan, private outdoor patio space, walk-in closets, mudroom-style drop zone, and spacious kitchens with islands. Units will range from 811 square feet to 1,345 square feet, with the average unit at approximately 1,017 square feet. Our community will offer a combination of garages, carports, and open parking stalls. Garages will not be connected to the internal units, making them available to any resident to include in their housing option package. Carports will include solar canopies as required by the 2022 California Green Building Code. Given the solar requirement, design enhancement is limited to the carport structures that have been specified to blend into the community by way of color and adjacent landscaping. A parking plan has also been included as a follow-up to our September 20th Planning Commission hearing. Our proposed parking exceeds the minimum parking required by code and complies with all ADA building code requirements and Title 24 Cal Green for the required EV stalls for both EV ready and EV capable. I think there was curiosity as to what those percentages were before. Those are provided on there. But we do have EV ready is a 25% requirement, which is 159 stalls. EV capable at 15%, which is 64 stalls. And EV chargers are at 5%, which is 32 stalls. A trash enclosure detail has been provided, which includes a metal roof, brick exterior design, and adjacent landscaping. The site plan here with the red boxes shows the proposed locations of all trash enclosures, which have shifted as far away as possible from the single-family homes per our ad hoc meeting. The proposed landscape palette includes a generous assortment of colorful street trees, vertical accent trees throughout the property, and shrubs and ground cover throughout the community. Palm trees have been removed as requested and have been replaced with some sort of, where we're right now speccing a Canary Island pine or alternate pine option pending review and approval from the fire department due to fire concern related to the proximity to the building. With 28% landscape coverage, our community will exceed the required 15% coverage, allowing large green areas and more opportunities for shaded grassy areas for our residents to enjoy. Thank you for your time this evening, and we are happy to stand by and answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that detailed presentation. And at this time, since we had them both go, we're welcome to ask questions, both staff and the developer. So anyone can start, because I've got a few, but I may step away for the bathroom. So.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation this evening. I must say that when I received the plans, I was very, very pleased with the complete turnaround from our first meeting. I really appreciate that you've listened to our first meeting and also to the ad hoc meeting. It looks, I'm very hopeful for it. I did have a question. Can you please, and this is just to be on the record, because I know it's going to be a question for our residents. Can you please explain how much faster the construction of these buildings, of this residential area, is going to accelerate the development of commercial space that you have? Because you did mention it in your presentation that it's much needed, right, in order for development of the commercial spaces to be done. So just, if you have an idea, if you can explain that to us, it doesn't have to be detailed, but at least something that we can have our mind wrapped around.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, Keith, you wanna? Yeah, Keith wants to.
So I mentioned our challenges in developing the commercial land
Hey,
on.
I'm sorry, can you state your name, please?
Yeah, Keith Geiger, Geiger. What some of the challenges that we've encountered trying to develop the commercial land on Ramona Expressway in Evans is the studies that these retailers do that want density, and you guys have heard them refer to them
Yes.
as rooftops. You know, an average single-family development would be about four, somewhere with 3.5 to 4 houses per acre. And this is, so we'd have somewhere 45 to 50 on this lot. We're going to have 305, or 300, I'm sorry. So those count as rooftops to those retailer demographic studies. So that's a huge delta in the right direction. But it's not just us. So with teaming up with the Stratford Ranch and with us, and a few others that you guys have going on currently in the city, my own impression is that it's very close. For something like a grocery store or those type of anchors that you want in this part of the city. I can't give you an exact timeline, but they're going to want these, it's open and occupied with that, spending money and those families there. So, something like this, how long is it going to take to build?
18 to 24 months.
18 to 24 months, and then you take into consideration some of those other developments like Stratford, and all of a sudden you have, 1,000 new rooftops. I think those demographic studies change dramatically. So I would say probably the timeline to build this and a few others, and then have those retailers redo those studies, it could be 2 years before we start getting different responses from retailers.
Right. And that timeline does go pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We've seen it go really fast.
Yeah.
So that's definitely it's a reasonable timeline, and I appreciate the answer. Now, just to follow up on that, and I'm sorry if this sounds like it's coming out of the park here, but I just want to get a better understanding. Do you have an idea of the family income that this will be targeting, maybe from a low to a high or a median? Because another concern, I'll give you just a little. Because another concern is because it's considered an affordable home, right? Because it's an apartment and not a house or a condo. Just for those questions to be answered, is there a target at this time, or are you still? Will the market change in 2 years? Like, considering those factors.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And as you guys have mentioned before, a lot of these terms are used improperly. So I don't want to say
Right.
Affordable or low income, because
right.
it means something specific in development, and you guys
Right.
know this is market.
Yes.
So we really let the market dictate. We've been using Greystar to do our studies, which is the biggest management and ownership company in multifamily.
Okay.
And I think the Inland Empire has been stable. We've seen their reports come in. It's not changing too much. So we are trying to let them lead the charge. I don't know if we've come to terms of if we're targeting any certain income level. I wouldn't put it that way. We just know that we are building the best product that we can that has more amenities than anything else in terms of competition, and we're going to charge accordingly for that. It takes a certain amount of rent to upkeep common areas and amenities when you do them first class. But I can't say for sure that we are targeting any specific demographic or income right now. You want to add to that?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you giving an answer for that. I know it was a big question, and I wasn't sure that you're prepared, but that's okay, because the point is to let our residents know that it's not low-income housing.
Right.
Right, and we understand that, and that's why we support it, because we know that it's what we need in order to get commercial into our neighborhoods. And one more question. I don't believe Commissioner Lopez was going to. Okay. I'm not sure if he was going to ask any questions. I wanted to kind of jump on your electrical, but I'm not sure. Do you want to take it, or? Okay. So my question was in regarding to the charging stations. Right now, I believe you mentioned it was at 5%. In the
That's
presentation,
for the actual chargers.
that are actually built out and ready to go, right? So,
Yeah, it's 5% will have the actual like charging station there. And then there's an additional 15% that have to be capable. So all of the electrical, like the panels have to be sized appropriately to allow for those to come online. So 5% with a charger, 15% ready to just install a charger, already infrastructure there.
Do you know what determines when the charging stations will be completed, the ones that are waiting to be completed? So how it's determined that you'll need those extra 15%?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think that the Cal Green Building Code dictates a timeline as to when those have to be up and running, at least under the current 2022 building code. And EV chargers are also an interesting thing because it is a profit generating thing for people who install it because it creates income. So there is that incentive too, that if it is something that's desired by the residents and property management ownership wants to install them, they'll be there and ready. But I don't think there is any requirement in code to bring those up and running.
With staff, does staff have any information in regards to what the city code has at this point in regards to charging stations and the state requirements?
I would defer to the applicant, but they were following the building code. Once they get into plan check, they would have to comply with those requirements. So I would say it's pretty accurate. I think our Commissioner Jack Shiley might have better knowledge of that than I do, but they would have to comply with the building code.
You still have toes, Jack? It's great. I'm just really excited about bringing this in. That's why I'm just asking, because if I get a fellow resident asking me questions, I'm like, oh, you're not going to worry about that because there's going to be room for your Kia or your Tesla or whatever is coming in. So
Yeah,
just
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there will be the 5% up and running now, and then 15% of it will be ready to go whenever, I guess ownership decides to install those.
And the 25% EV ready, what is the difference between that and the EV capable?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I've asked that a few times, so I think that I have my facts correct now. 25%, that is that you have call it the conduit, is there underground. So you don't have to dig up any trenches.
Right.
It's there. You don't have to have the capacity within the electrical panel necessarily dedicated for those EVs yet, but the infrastructure is there so that upgrade can be made at the panel, it can be installed, but no digging up interference of the property has to occur. Or 20%, sorry. 20%, not 25, he's saying.
It said 25% here, that's why I was asking. Because it says 25% on what was presented. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, my name is Chris Williams, Williams. So it's a total of 40%, and it's 20% actually. So
Okay.
that's what, the 20% is going to be what's going to be plumbed on the property, ready to get electrical wires in the future. And then you get the 15% that actually has the electrical wires, and then the 5% that's the actual chargers.
Okay, so there was a
That looks
typo.
That
Okay.
looks like a typo then, yes, correct.
Thank you.
that would be all for me. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for that presentation. I know previously there's an issue with privacy for the residents on the south side of the project. As the new revised version of the project, it still carries windows on that south side of the building, correct?
Correct, it does.
So what are you guys relying for the screening? Is it just the trees or?
Yeah, so where those windows are required to be there due to the design and fire access, we have to have 2 points of egress via windows. And so we have worked with the ad hoc committee to strategically place mature trees back in that area that would be restricting that view. So I don't know if I know how to go. Oh, there we go. If I go back to that perspective, give me a second to flash back. So you can see up here the image up in the upper right-hand corner with the people sitting in the chairs in the backyard. That's, we're looking at placing those mature trees in those areas so that there is that privacy.
Yeah, that was my concern because I know how the trees come, they're usually smaller, so it's going to take years for them to grow and use as screening. Okay.
We're looking at larger trees back in that area so that they come in already, call it mature, so that they're already obstructing those views from the windows.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was
Yep.
my only question.
I had just a clarification question for, what is it, the conditions of approval, number 11, where it was, okay, I just want to clarify, because I think I heard 64 feet, but it says 46 feet here.
That was a typo. It's 46-foot half width.
Oh, you know, it says 46 here, but I heard 64, so I was like, okay, you heard 64 too? I'm a little bit dyslexic too, so it's okay.
I think it might, I think there, I'm like, let me flip to it. I think there
That's
might be a
46 on here.
typo.
Is
So
it
it does say, it says 46 and 64, so I think that needs to be corrected. It says Ryder Street is classified as an arterial, parentheses 92/64. That 64 is supposed to be a 46.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the second 46 is a correct one?
correct, yep. And that is per the specific plan, the standard street section. We're not modifying that, that was just to make it correct, yeah.
Okay, and then,
Actually, sorry, Chair Jimenez. No, this description is 92/64. 64 is the curb to curb width.
okay,
Oh, I apologize then,
The-
okay.
It's not meant to be half width.
okay,
So it describes the width of the full width right away and then the curb to curb width. Sorry, I just had to.
Oh, no, thank you. I didn't realize that. I assumed it was a typo as well. So what we were trying to get revised was the one condition said 46 and one said 47, and the correct one was 46. So we were just making that correction in there.
okay. So it's correct to read that the frontage to accommodate 46-foot half width? Is that reading correctly?
That is correct, Commissioner Jimenez.
And would you tell me the part that was struck out, the inadequate right-of-way for the design right turn lane pocket? What does that mean? What was crossed out? What did that mean?
So it's stricken out. So when we were actually writing the conditions of approval for this project, we thought a designated right turn lane pocket would be required. But once the traffic study was provided and reviewed and approved, the activity at that main driveway is pretty minimal at peak hours. So the designated left turn lane pocket is not required. That's why it's stricken out.
It says right turn lane pocket, not left turn. That was
Correct,
stricken.
right turn lane. So if you're traveling east on Ryder, there's no need for a designated right turn lane pocket at the driveway.
Okay. It wasn't in there before? Did we
It was
remove
there
it?
before. We revisited, of course, the traffic study in order to analyze everything else. And actually, this designated right turn lane pocket is not required.
Okay. Is there a fee associated with leaving it versus not? I know the sidewalk's already built out. Is there a cost or is there pros and cons? Is that something we can request?
Well, we're complying, we have an approved set of specific plans that we
Okay.
have to comply with. So we're complying.
So if
with
it's
what
not
was
required, traffic study was done?
Actually, this is not related to traffic study. The sidewalk,
Well, adding that right turn lane pocket.
correct, that's only required if there's excessive turning movements at
Okay.
the driveway.
So based on the analysis, there wasn't a need for it.
Correct, there is not.
And that's not something that we can still request.
Well, it's not necessary because typically we put those if there's excessive turning movements and upon warrant of the traffic study. So if it's not required, we won't require it.
It's residential.
Okay, so it's a combination of the two. Because I was happy initially when that was there, just because I know people travel down
Right.
Ryder pretty quickly. Okay. And my second one was, looking at the corner, the little, what is this called? The monument, the corner monument. I love it and it looks beautiful lit up, but I was wondering if it would be possible to add more of the color from the buildings because it looks, and maybe it's the way it's colored here, but it looks very just like a white
Yeah,
background with the project names. So adding a little bit of color or texture from the buildings just to make it pop up a little bit more. I don't know if my fellow commissioners. Working with
Just plain white.
staff, and I know it's this, the letters are black and at night they're lit up, backlit, which is really pretty. But it just looks kind of plain, and I know it has levels and there's landscaping in there. But working with staff for something that is more,
I don't on mine, but on,
yeah.
he had it on his.
Can we please switch to the, to staff's presentation so we can take a look at the sign? Thank you.
That one, during the daytime. Yeah. I see the brick on top. Yes,
Okay, because I think it's fine, personally.
yeah. I just think like the area, so maybe landscaping around on the side, so there's more landscaping, something just to add more emphasis and it doesn't just look like, mostly too because, driving around the city, I've seen more tagging and it just looks like an open invitation. So if we have
you were-
landscaping or something there, yeah.
Yeah, we're not, I mean, we're not opposed to revisiting a color scheme with planning staff after the hearing. We will also, I mean, it will have an anti-graffiti coating on it, so that'd be cleaned and, you know, it'll be maintained and repainted over. So regardless, I guess, if it's white or dark, if someone's going to tag it, they're going to and we'll be responsible for cleaning that up. But you know, we need to at least keep the contrast of the dark letters against the white backdrop. But, you know, if the commission is interested in introducing a second color, we're certainly not opposed to looking at that.
Maybe at the bottom level,
I think she was talking
something.
about landscaping would be
could be
on the
landscaping, yeah.
sides.
Yeah, it
If
could
you
be
have
landscaping.
around the sides, the colors are one thing. At nighttime, it brightens up, but if you have landscaping, that wouldn't block the sign a consideration. I think that's what she's mean.
Yeah, or even that bottom section, just giving it more of a, I guess this is a first-rate kind of development. There's a lot of landscaping. It's beautiful architecture. And I feel like if I was driving by and I saw the sign, it wouldn't show what's inside. I guess I'm trying to get it to match. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, we can, I mean, we do have landscaping on each side of it. You know, we can reselect some plants that might grow a little bit taller along those sides to kind of blend it in more, certainly.
I like that idea.
Yes, thank you.
And Katie, just for clarification, on A 1.5, which is the site plan that shows the parking, the garage and the carport colors need to be reversed again. The darker shade is actually the garages, and the lighter shade is the carport, so they need to be flipped.
Oh, on the parking plan. Okay, yep.
That was the thing we
I
talked
understand,
at
yeah,
our too.
we need to make that revision, so you're correct about that.
So my question was, on those carports on the south side, or is there still going to be a study of what pitch the carports is going to be to get the best solar
Correct.
design versus, so they might be flipped the opposite way to get it? So my only concern is if they're flipped to the south side, maybe a study needs to be done to make sure there's no solar glare coming into those 2 stories?
Yeah, absolutely. We, so you know, it's preliminary now, but we are going to have a solar permit that they're 2 shaded and they as well, but that will be determined later on by that professional during that drawing phase.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then just for clarifications for the other commissioners, we discussed that the south back wall is actually going to be a new CMU wall.
No, that's going to be the existing wall. We're not going to be building a duplicate wall against it.
Okay. And then mechanically, there's no mechanical units around the perimeter of the apartments, units, and everything is going to be all roof-mounted split systems or heat pumps, I hope, that will all be concealed up in the roof area or...
Yeah, that's
area.
correct. So everything's going to be on the roof, or it's going to be in sheds that are over on the side of the structure. So we've got sheds on each side of the multifamily to accommodate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I am, sorry to be last on the fence here. No, I appreciate the additions and all the other things that were added onto the handicap spaces, things of that nature had to be added. As long as we eliminate any references to the African sumac, which I thought I saw in here. Please, no African sumacs, no palm trees. But other thing too, just a note for those that are in that area, the homes that are in the south are 2 stories for the most part. And there might be a couple of single stories, but they're 2 stories. That makes a big difference. And they're pretty much abutting the fence, the wall there. So the 2 stories is one of the reasons why we wanted to move that. The apartment unit has been moved, and that amenity has been moved because it was right there with 2 stories. If a single story would be one thing, but because it's 2-story houses facing this thing, you almost have to move it away because it'd be looking right into each other. So that's one of the things that, it might be minutia, but it's important. I did look at the traffic impact analysis too. And it was done well because the queuing there was taken care of. I think if visitors coming in, this is all of these, even new ones that are coming, the visitor would go there and not be able to get in, would have to be able to get out. But the person coming in who actually a resident goes to the electronic box and comes in. So there's enough stacking space there, so hopefully you don't have 50 cars lined up. But that, I think, was pretty much answered in the, it's called a soft queuing, they call it. So they can bypass the visitors thing. It may not seem important in other projects, it is for this one, for any residential apartment building. That's important because there's certain times of the day and you never know. The VMTs are at a guesstimate because it's all it is a guesstimate. I don't care what they say, it's a guesstimate. People come in, you may have them all coming at one time. Saturdays, you can never know, but so it's just based on analysis of other buildings and other apartments similar to this. So that's all that is. So I appreciate the ad hoc committee for looking at the things they did. I think they pretty much asked all the questions I had. There will not be a median on Ryder Street for obvious reasons. But one of the concerns was going in, going out of there. But again, the traffic analysis doesn't merit any kind of signal, so it's not even a consideration there. There is a median going west, but that's trucks. You know, despite the fact they drive over them, but that's another story for code enforcement and sheriffs. But for now, I think it's important not to have that, and it's just not there as long as it's striped and well identified. So if they make that turnout, we're not creating a traffic hazard. Yeah. So other than that, so far I think all the questions have been answered at this point. And unless I knew I'd go long enough, she'd have one more. Okay. Okay.
Okay. I just want to triple clarify because I see the notation of where the gates are for the easternly driveway and the one on Evans, but the one that's going to be right in and out, or right out only, the gate, okay, I see it here. It wasn't notated on the other ones. I see it back there. That was it. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, so we are getting a parkway on Evans Road on the sidewalk, but we're not getting one on Ryder, is that correct?
We're not getting that either.
A parkway? No,
A
we
side-
are
a
getting
sidewalk.
There's a sidewalk and there'll be landscape parkway, correct?
On Evans Road and Ryder?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, where was that? Because I didn't see that.
I don't see
Yeah.
it.
I didn't see
We are
it.
not going to be getting a parkway because it's already all built out.
No,
Yes.
the sidewalk is existing, it's at
Yeah.
curb.
You thought I was asking about a median, weren't you?
No, actually.
We're not
it
getting
was-
the median we requested either.
No.
I'm just,
thing I
how can you put, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm grieving that we're not getting that median there on the street there, and we're not getting the parkway. So just wanted to confirm that my grieving is correct.
There is a parkway, but it won't be at curb, it'll be at property line.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, because currently there's just a sidewalk there, as you know, because you live there. It's just a sidewalk, then boom, there's the property. So you don't have that parkway, sidewalk, parkway, which we really want on every project. You guys don't give it. But that's the best thing to have is that grassway in between. But that's not consistent with Ryder, because Ryder has, I've ridden my bike down there, trust me. It's just sidewalks there, and that's not really a concern at this point. But it would be nice. But the parkway you're talking about is from the sidewalk to the property. So that distance is there. Okay. Anything else? Are we done? Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. At this time, we have public comment available on this particular agenda item. So if anyone would like to come forward and address this Planning Commission on this agenda item, you're welcome to come forward now to the podium. Okay, seeing none in public comments, we close this part of the public hearing and bring it to the commission for discussion, analysis.
Just want to start off by thanking the applicant. After the last meeting on the September 20th meeting, and it seemed like the applicant addressed most of the issues, if not all of the issues that the Planning Commission was having. So I want to thank you for that. And I personally don't have any issues with the project, so everything checked out for me.
I'll take it, guys. I want to, first of all, I want to thank staff for the hard work that's been done with the applicant. I want to especially thank the applicant for listening to the Planning Commission, to our different concerns, needs, wants that we discussed in our very lengthy meeting the first time around. I'm glad that we were able to come to an agreement, and I still see paneling, but it looks really nice, and I really love the architecture that was brought to us. It did change, and it does feel now that it's going to be blend in a little nicer, and but it's definitely still has a new look to it. It has a more modern look to it. The colors that were picked out, I'm not sure who to give credit to, but they are also very nice colors. I'm happy with the sign at the front. I understand where you're coming from in regards to let's make it pop a little more. I think that's where you're coming from. I agree with that, but I do love just the classy look of that color. That it's like a beige color, and it has it has the dark letters, and it has that beautiful brick. Sorry, no, it's a bad word. Some people don't like brick, but I love the brick on top. Just the flat brick that lays on top of it that kind of borders it. My concern with that is that if we ever do, well, maybe not, because there's that deterrent, that graffiti deterrent that's going to be sprayed on. But if that ever does get painted over and that brick gets painted over, I'm not going to be happy. You guys know what I mean, right? They just give it a clean spray over. Sorry, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. But if it was a nice dark brick, and the architects know what I'm talking about, landscape architects, if that's beautiful brick laid on top and then a different color just to give it that border, and then they just come and they spray from panel to panel the entire thing, and it takes away what it was meant to look like. So I'm going to grieve again if that ever happens, but I'm hoping it does not, especially with that deterrent on there. I'm very happy. I was impressed with the book that was provided to us. That was my first, even when I worked in planning with our facilities department for the county. I never saw anything like this. So this is very nice. Thank you for putting a nice touch to it and trying to impress us. You really did a good job on that. And I can't wait to see what else the May family has in store for us in the future for commercial as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank the applicant too. The two styles of architecture, even though they're currently similar, they're very different from what currently shown, which I think it's much more appealing into the neighborhood, where the other I forget what it is, agricultural type of architecture doesn't really fit in the surrounding May Ranch area as much as this current design is. So I appreciate that it has taken a different turn to be more appealing. Like the different colors have been brought forward to us as well, the lighter colors. Even though the rec center is still a little bit darker, I don't have too many issues with how dark it is. I like the fact that all the mechanical units, as the best as possible, are going to be concealed out from the areas that people can damage them or vandalize them. So I appreciate that very much. But I welcome the the complex here and the additional 300 homes in hope of us getting a shopping center or some type of marketing center near to this area as soon as possible. So this is just one step forward to be able to achieve at least 300 units of rooftops relatively quick, so.
I also want to thank the applicant. It was great working with them. They were very receptive. They offered a lot of explanations to requests that we were making, why they would not be able to accommodate those things, particularly the traffic, because, you know, I'm so concerned with traffic. However, based on expert reviews and everything that was presented, I understand that there shouldn't be a problem. I think opening up that right out only is also going to help alleviate a lot of those potential. I think a lot of people exiting would probably still go right to go north on Evans because that's a bigger road instead of trying to go left. But I was very happy with the change of the color scheme, with all the amenities there, the way that it was labeled. Same, I want to agree with Commissioner Gomez that even there's a page in our presentation that has even what the exterior lighting looks like. So there was a lot of attention to detail about how this really will be a first-rate development. And working with the landscaping, there's so much attention to detail, accessibility to all areas by people with different mobility needs. There really was a very clear effort to make this not only a beautiful community, but also one that can be enjoyed by everyone.
Quickly saying that I want to thank staff and working with the developer, because I know we're not the easiest people up here, but I appreciate working with staff and appreciate the developer also paying attention. When we put up projects, they're permanent. So that's why we're a detailed panel. I don't know about the rest of these commissions, and I've seen them. We're very detailed here, as you're probably finding out. We're extremely detailed because we want the best for our community. So we will get on staff, we'll love them, but then we'll kill them later, okay? But we appreciate it because we're going to be like this. We're not going to change because we want the best for our community. One thing I will say too, and I forgot to bring it up too, only concern I would have, because the project is fine, there's a lot of things I'm gonna bring up in a minute, is the height of the fences around the property. If they're 3 feet high, it's a non-starter. We've got to have them high enough to where we're talking security issues. Every single apartment that's proposed in the future had better have high fences because there are going to be people wandering all over the place. You just can't do that. We're in this age right now, you have to have security. So if it's tubular, if it's wall, we have to have at least 6 feet and up. That's just not even negotiable. So we need that. I don't know what it is because it's not saying here what it is in the front, but it should be at least 6 feet. Whether you put vines in there, whether you put whatever, but we've got to have high enough fences. People want security or they're not going to come in. Okay? So it's a condo, if it's apartments, you've got to have security. I lived off of Lee Street and then off Redlands, and you could jump over the fence right into the apartment. I don't know how that got approved. It wasn't by us. But you just jump over the fence right in the apartment and say, hello, how are you? That's too easy. You have to think about security these days. If you're not, don't waste your time coming here. You have to do it. I'm saying it again and again and again and again. Be concerned with the height of fences and cameras and these things. I mean, I say that to staff too. Don't even waste your time. First thing you ask, where's the security? How high are the fences? Got to do it, guys, because it's too dangerous these days. That's the only thing I would say to this addition. One thing I appreciate the developer on the positive side is you've got 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 1-bedroom apartments. Oh, we've been asking for that for a long time. That meets the needs of the community. It needs the needs of the city of Paris. Not just 1-bedroom, not just 2-bedroom, but 3-bedroom is very important. So you have some options before you, if and when you want to move into a house. At least you've got families, and some are very large. You don't want just a 1-bedroom and one sleeping in 1 bedroom. So I like the variety there in color. So with that said, I think the landscaping, the amenities and all that, it's been done. We're in desperate need, as if you watched the council meeting the last time, one of the big issues with the state was housing. SB this, SB that, housing, okay, multifamily. This is I said this 2 or 3 years ago, you're going to have this issue. And I work for LA, the housing department in LA, trust me, I'm an expert on it. We got pounded about multifamily housing in LA. That's too expensive. We're talking about out here having housing that has to have, you have to have some diversity in housing. So it's not just single-family housing, but you need this maybe startup for young people, 18-year-old, 19 to start, or they're all gonna leave and go somewhere else. So you've got to have that diversity in housing types. Not everyone wants to live in an apartment, not everyone wants to live in a home. So I appreciate the developer making this great design and patience in that. So I think that was it. And I think we've kind of went over it a few times, but we've pretty much put in just about everything we can put in. And with that, I think I'm done. So unless there's any more issues or any questions, I'm going to read what we're asking for here. Thank you for putting it here. It's a specific plan amendment, 21-05249, and development plan review, 21-0014. Continued from September 20th, 2023, Planning Commission meeting. Proposal to facilitate the construction of a 300-unit multifamily residential development located at the southwest corner of Ryder Street and Evans Road, consisting of the following. Specific plan amendment to amend the May Ranch specific plan to rezone 14.6 acres from commercial zone to multifamily residential zone and create a multifamily residential standards for planning area 22. Development plan review for the site plan, building elevations, and recreation amenities. Requested action to adopt resolution 23-30, recommending that the city council adopt a mitigated negative declaration number 2391 and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program and approve specific plan amendment SPA 21-05249 and development plan reviewed DPR 21-00014 to facilitate the construction of a 300-unit multifamily residential development based on the findings and subject to conditions of approval. We had some administrative and some things we were concerned with. One was the monument sign, landscaping around the monument sign that could be proposed, and that's something to work with staff with. Solar study on the south side, again, administrative, something that can work with staff, I'm assuming, about the solar panel on the south side and the potential glare, but again, not something to hold up the project. I think there was something on 1.5 about shades, maybe that changed, but that's a map change, so not really an issue. And I don't think I had anything else that I can think of. Okay.
If we can also add the revisions to the conditions of approval for the engineering department and public
Okay.
works department.
Okay, I'll add it at this
Thank
point.
you.
Okay. Yeah, there was some question about 46 feet, but yeah, I understand now. It's consistent. Okay. And we need a motion. Been moved by Commissioner Jimenez and seconded by Commissioner Lopez.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes?
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, this motion is approved.
Thank you very much. Okay. Do we need a quick break or do we want to move on? Okay. No more than 5 minutes. you can actually get to the development plans and then all the other. Yeah, I know. Good evening. We're reconvening the City of Paris Planning Commission at 7:39 p.m. We're moving on to item 6B, Major Modification 22-05265. Proposal to modify Development Plan Review 08-01-0007, previously approved Paris Logistics Center South, Site 2 project on 195 acres as follows. 1, reduce the total number of warehouse buildings from 4 buildings to 3 buildings. Number 2, reduce the overall square footage of the buildings from 3,448,734 square feet to 3,345,217 square feet. And number 3, tentative parcel map 23-05248, TPM 38518, to modify a previously approved map to reduce the number of parcels from 6 to 3 parcels, and letter Lot A for open space. The project site is located at the southwest corner of Mapes Road and Getz Road in the light industrial zone. IDI Logistics is the applicant. Requested action, adopt resolution number 23-32, recommending that the City Council adopt addendum 23-05252 to a previously certified environmental impact report, SH number 20080711060, for South Paris Industrial Project, and approve major modification 22-05265, the Modified Development Plan Review 08-01-0007, and tentative parcel map 23-05248, TPM 38518, to facilitate the construction and operation of 3 industrial buildings totaling 3,345,217 square feet, based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. At this time, we had submitted to the Honorable Chair, to the Chair and members of the planning, how about honorable? The planning manager, I'm not going to go there, okay? October 17, 2023, subject, Planning Commission Item 6B, major modification. I won't read all that. Applicant's continuance request. It is requested for your consideration is a letter from the applicant, for the record, requesting continuance to the November 1st, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, as additional time is needed to address technical issues related to the project. And the request was made October 17, 2023. Nevertheless, we're still going to go through the process and then open up the regular public hearing. And just noted that we will have on November 1st, if it's voted on and approved, this will be a continuance into that date. So for the record, is there any site visits, any ex parte communication, anything of the sort?
I know the area well.
Oh, yeah.
Driven past it a few times.
Yeah.
None for me.
Have driven by the site.
None for me.
Yeah, I extensively went by the site, trust me. Okay. Well, we'll go through the process. Is the city have a presentation, or do we need to have a city presentation? We don't need one. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So since it's a continuance, we will open up for public hearing, public comment. At this time, if anyone would like to come forward and have a public comment on this agenda item only, you're welcome to come forward at this time. I don't know if anyone has sent anything to our planning secretary, but if not, you're welcome to come to the dais or the podium at this time on this agenda item and this agenda item only. Okay, seeing none. Since it is asking for continuance, I guess at this time we'll be going for a motion for continuance to November 1st, 2023, the next Planning Commission meeting. And we just need a motion. It's been moved by Vice Chair Shively, seconded by Commissioner Lopez.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes?
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote for 5-0, this motion is approved.
Thank you very much. At this time, we move on to item 6C. This is a scoping meeting for an environmental impact report associated with General Plan Amendment 22-05326, Zone Change 22-05327, TPM 22-05328, TPM 38600, Development Plan Review 22-00030. Proposal to consider the following entitlements to facilitate the construction of a 412,348 square foot industrial warehouse building. Number 1, general plan amendment to change the land use designation of 19.9 acres from community commercial to light industrial. Number 2, a zone change to rezone 19.9 acres from community commercial zone to light industrial zone. Number 3, tentative parcel map to consolidate 10 existing parcels into one 19.9 acre parcel. And 4, development plan review for review of the site, plan, and building elevations. The project site is located at the northwest corner of Sherman Road and Ethernack Road. The applicant, John Craze, Hillwood. Requested action, conduct a public scoping meeting to review, discuss, and provide comments on the potential environmental impacts associated with the project. This time, I'd like staff to explain that this is a scoping project. So what are the parameters of that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of the scoping meeting is to seek comments on the environmental aspect of the project. when we are ready to present the project to you, then you'll have an opportunity to comment on the project itself. But this is just to address any environmental concerns you would like us to address on the draft DIR when it's prepared.
Thank you very much. Just wanted you to clarify, back me up, basically. Okay. Okay, well, seeing that, we move to this, oh gosh, I haven't seen you in a while, Mr. Nathan Perez. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Hammond, members of the Planning Commission. Nathan Perez, Senior Planner. Tonight, as mentioned, we're here to conduct an environmental impact report scoping meeting for the Etenac Logistics Center project. So tonight's presentation will be provided into two components. I'll provide a brief overview of the project, what it entails, and the second portion will be provided by the environmental consultant, Melissa Perez from Webb Associates, who will give an overview of the environmental scoping process. So what's the purpose of the scoping meeting? Well, I will provide information on the proposed Hillwood Etenac Industrial Project. It will be very brief. And also, the purpose of the scoping meeting is to allow Planning Commission, interested persons from the public, organizations, and public agencies the opportunity to comment on the preliminary assessment of the environmental issues that would be needed to be addressed into the environmental impact report. And as the planning manager mentioned, Patricia Brenes, no actions required at this time for the proposed project. This is just an environmental scoping meeting. Now we'll get into the project. The project site is currently vacant, located at the northeast corner of Sherman Road and Etenac Road, consisting of 19.9 acres. The project site is, if you notice, it's located and bounded by the yellow dashed line. Some of the surrounding land uses to the north is a vacant land with a contractor storage yard. And to the west is vacant land. And also to the south is the city of Menifee city limits, which is currently to the south is auto repair shops and also vacant land. And also to the east, across Sherman Road, which is also in the city of Menifee, is existing non-conforming residential housing. Here's some site photos, just a view north, just across Etenac Road. And it currently shows that the site is currently vacant. Here's looking west off of Sherman Road. And here's east from Trumbull Road. And beyond there is the city of Menifee city limits. So the current zoning is commercial community, and the applicant is proposing or will propose a general plan and zone change to pretty much rezone commercial communities zone property to light industrial to facilitate the development of the industrial development. Some of the surrounding zoning is commercial community and light industrial to the north. To the west is commercial community, and to the south is the city of Menifee. And I actually verified some of the zoning that's surrounding. It's business park, light industrial. And if you look at to the east, where the non-conforming residences are, I looked at the city of Menifee's map and I double-checked it, is a business park / light industrial, which allows industrial-based uses. And that's the zone change, if you guys could see that. So. And here's the site plan. The applicant is proposing to construct 412,348 square foot industrial high cube warehouse on 19.9 acres. Currently, there's 10 parcels underlining under the current proposal, which are going to be merged through a tentative parcel map. I would like to point out that passenger vehicle access will be provided along Etenac Road, if you see there. And also truck access will be off of Trumbull Road, so there won't be any intermingling of trucks and passenger vehicles. There's also 2 areas of proposed office area, which are shown in the red boxes, if you see on the slide. which totals roughly around 10,000 square feet of ground floor office area and 5,000 square feet of office area on the mezzanine, which is the second story. Here are the building elevations. It's mostly a modern industrial architecture, painted concrete tilt-up panels and low reflective materials. And currently, they're proposing the building to be 48 feet in height. The building design elements include a combination of bearing roof lines, metal cornice treatments, stone veneer, and metal canopies to kind of define where the office entryways are within the building. So I would like to also point out, and here's the east elevation off of Sherman, and here's the west elevation off of Trumbull. I'd like to point out that those loading dock doors will not be seen. This is just to pretty much show how the building is going to be constructed. But if you were to stand on Sherman Road or Trumbull Road, there'll be a 14-foot high screen wall, and there'll be a berm in front of it to reduce the visual height up to 8 feet. So also, before I conclude my presentation, I've been working with the applicant to pretty much meet the good neighbor guidelines. And we do meet it even though they're City of Menifee residents. We do meet our guidelines, which go above and beyond the City of Menifee's good neighbor guidelines also. So with that, I'll hand it over. This concludes my portion of the presentation. I'll hand it over to the environmental consultant, Melissa Perez, who's the CEQA consultant for the applicant, and she will conclude the presentation and answer any questions that the commission might have.
Thank you very much, sir. Just in case, you want to state your full name and spell your last name for
I
us.
certainly will. Thank you, Nathan. So I am Melissa Perez, Perez, with Albert Webb Associates, the CEQA consultant for the project. So let me get going here. All right. So for those not familiar with the California Environmental Quality Act, otherwise known as CEQA, it is the state's primary environmental protection law. And it requires the public agencies to do a number of things. The purpose is to disclose to the public and decision makers significant environmental impacts, identify ways to avoid or reduce environmental impacts, and we refer to this as mitigation, consider feasible alternatives that could reduce a project's significant impacts, encourage interagency coordination, and it provides opportunity for public participation through the planning process. And again, the purpose of the CEQA scoping meeting is based on the initial study that was actually prepared for the project. It found that an environmental impact report would be required. And as part of that, CEQA will require a scoping meeting to be conducted. And the intent of the meeting is to inform the public that the city is considering a project that is being evaluated under CEQA for the purpose of soliciting input related to the environmental issues in the forthcoming environmental impact report. I'm going to use the acronym EIR, so everybody's familiar with that from this point forward. So the intent of the scoping meeting is not to discuss the merits of the project tonight, but rather to identify opportunities for input, gather comments, and enhance the public participation process. So this is a brief outline of the CEQA process. First, the city prepares an initial study document which provides a preliminary impact analysis of 21 issue areas that are required to be analyzed under CEQA. The analysis identifies areas that may result in potential impacts, which are then carried over to an EIR document. We are at a point in the process where the initial study has been completed and has been circulated for a 30-day public review period, along with a notice of preparation to prepare an EIR. So any comments received as part of the initial study's public review, which does include tonight's meeting, will be included as part of the preparation of that forthcoming EIR. The purpose of the EIR is to disclose impacts and identify ways to avoid or reduce those impacts so that decision makers have a comprehensive document to use as part of their decision-making process. Now, once the EIR is complete, the city will provide a notice of availability, and the document will be made available for a 45-day public review in order to solicit input on the analysis within that document. Once the EIR comment period closes, responses to all comments received during this time will be prepared for inclusion in a final EIR document that will be presented to decision makers. So the final EIR and proposed actions will be presented together before both the Planning Commission and then City Council in the form of public hearings, all of which add additional opportunities for the public to comment and participate in the process. So these are the 21 issue areas I mentioned that are required under CEQA that the initial study document analyzed. And a number of these were determined to be less than significant impacts, so they do not require any further analysis under CEQA in that forthcoming EIR. However, that analysis will still be included as an appendix in the forthcoming EIR in order to provide a comprehensive analysis document for the public and decision makers to review. And further, site-specific technical studies have been or are in the process of being prepared to support the findings in the initial study and the forthcoming EIR, all of which will be available during those public review periods. Ooh, went a little too far there. The issue areas that the EIR will focus on will include air quality, greenhouse gas, and energy sections, which will focus on pollutants and emissions as a result of the proposed actions. Cultural resources will focus on potential archaeological and historic value of the site. Geological resources will analyze the site's potential for paleo resources. Hydrology and water quality focuses on drainage and water quality treatment. Land use will review the project for consistency with the general plan policies and other regional planning policy documents. Noise will analyze temporary and permanent noise impacts. Transportation will analyze the project's ability to reduce vehicular miles traveled. Tribal cultural resources will focus on Native American, let me back this up. It will focus on the potential effects as they may relate to Native American tribes. And then last, utilities and service systems will review capacity of water, sewer, storm drain, and solid waste facilities as they may relate to the project. Now, other CEQA topics that are required that will also be included in this document are a cumulative impact analysis. So that means that the forthcoming EIR will review proposed actions in conjunction with existing and future development within the city and the region. And then last, the EIR is required to review a range of feasible alternatives for their ability to reduce any project-specific impacts that are identified within the EIR. So this is the preliminary schedule. So to recap, the initial study document was completed and circulated for the 30-day public review comment period, which started September 22nd of this year, and it will end next week on October 23rd. The draft EIR is anticipated to be available for public review in the early winter months of 2024. And that will be available for a 45-day public review comment period. Once the comment period closes, we will prepare the final EIR document, which will include responses to all public comments received and is anticipated to be wrapped up in late spring of 2024. With that, both the proposed actions and the final EIR are expected to be taken before Planning Commission for recommendation in summer of 2024, and then taken before City Council for a final action shortly thereafter. And again, because these are public hearings, these are additional opportunities for public participation. So we are welcoming comments on the scope of the forthcoming EIR tonight. Written comments can be provided to Nathan Perez, the senior planner on the project. And again, as a reminder, the comment period ends next week on October 23rd. And that will conclude my presentation, but I am available to answer any questions related to the CEQA process. And just a reminder that we will not be able to answer questions specific to the EIR tonight because that is still in progress. But we are here to listen and collect any comments about issues from the perspective of commission or the public.
Thank you very much. Do we need to hear it from the developer? The developer? Okay.
They want to.
Sometimes they do. It's a scoping session, sometimes they don't. Okay. If the developer, just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Absolutely. My full name is Noah Shih, last name Shih. I work with Hillwood, and I just want to thank the commissioners and Chair Hammond for your time tonight. Appreciate it very much. Just want to introduce myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I know we're going to have, but at this time, we have questions for concerning the scope. The scope. I know that narrows it down, right? So anyone would like to
I'll
start?
give it a shot.
Okay.
I'll take the first hit. It's Commissioner Gomez. Thank you for the presentation. I understand this is a scope meeting, so I can only ask questions pertaining to the EIR. And my question, the attorney and Kenneth are more than welcome to direct me if it need be, but here we go. I do have a question. One of the main concerns is regarding the air quality versus a traffic study. Will you be able to include in the EIR a comparable study between the air quality being impacted due to the traffic between a business park and a light industrial building?
So your request would be to include an analysis of business park compared to industrial?
Correct. What type of, regards to the traffic, so what type of vehicles are more likely to be used for a business park versus light industrial building? And how that would impact the air quality and also the noise impact of those differences. Hope that makes sense.
Okay, so just
Learning.
just to recap to make sure I understand, because part of what we're doing here is we want to collect your questions and put them in the form of a comment so that we are addressing what you're asking within the scope of that EIR. So if I understand, you are requesting a an analysis that compares a business park land use to industrial land use with respect to air quality, traffic, and noise. That's what you're looking for.
Noise impact, yes.
Okay.
And I guess, I don't know if it would be to add to that, but also on the same lines of that type of analysis, the difference between a community commercial use, which it is now, versus light industrial, which is the proposed project.
Okay. So also commenting that the analysis should look at towards community commercial compared to industrial for those same studies, air quality, traffic, and noise.
Yes. Can you just briefly explain to me if there's a difference between why it's community commercial and not just commercial use?
That would be a city question.
Okay, then that would be for my city staff.
There's no distinguishing difference. It's just, our zoning code called it community commercial. There's some area that's called commercial, but it's all one and the same. It's just a different acronym that's used in different documents.
Okay. And can you explain to me or clarify to me why we use the word non-conforming residential or the phrase? I believe it was referred to with the not residential on Sherman.
Yeah, so the residences that are currently in the city of Menifee, if you were to propose a home there currently with the zoning, which is business park, light industrial, you wouldn't be able to build it. However, based on my research, that those homes were built before the city of Menifee changed the zoning from, it might have been residential, now it's light industrial. So they're able to be there, but they're non-conforming.
So that entire area on Sherman, all of those homes that are there, they're all in a light industrial now? They're not in a commercial space?
That's correct. Yeah. And I verified it with, City of Menifee, and also, I have maps also.
Okay. No, I trust you. I believe
Yeah,
you,
so,
Nathan. You're good, you're good.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
try to verify, before I say something in public hearing.
I was
so-
going to bring the other jacket, but today I put this one on. We're good.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Nathan. And if you can clarify it for me, is there a truck route that runs in this area?
Yeah, the nearest truck route is obviously Etenac to the I-215.
Ethanx north and south, or just?
Etenac, the project site, and it runs west,
Up
east-west.
to the 215?
Yeah, east-west to the I-215.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
To clarify, Nathan, so does this location have a direct access to our already pre-designated truck routes?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, so the nearest truck route is Etenac. So,
So there is a truck route that off of Trumbull? Or what is the name, Trumbull? What is the
Yeah,
name of the street?
Trumbull.
So
yes.
Trumbull is a truck route.
No, it's not. Basically, if they're going to propose to have trucks travel down Trumbull, then they would have to go to the nearest truck route, which is Etenac. So,
And they would have to request that Trumbull also be converted to a truck route or be included in it.
not necessarily, no. So the way it works is that, if there's an industrial building, they would be routed to the nearest truck route. And Etenac is the nearest truck route.
So there's no truck route right there. They would have to be rerouted to the nearest.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So can we look at that? Because I was looking at the transportation requirements, and one of the things that it does say is that the project may potentially conflict with a program plan, ordinance, or policy addressing circulation system. So they don't have immediate access to a truck route, correct? They would have to be rerouted or kind of have to travel to the nearest.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so can we look at that? As part of the transportation in CEQA too, is the impact of having big rigs access.
Commissioner Jimenez, just to explain, so Trumbull is not, Trumbull Road is not designated as a truck route. However, it's not restricted to use of trucks. So they can utilize that roadway to actually access the Etherneck Road, which is a truck route.
Okay, but there will still be an impact, right, of having certain type of vehicles there instead of passenger vehicles if it was to stay as a commercial?
Sorry, I don't
Yeah.
understand your question.
I guess there is a transportation impact, not only with the miles traveled, but also the impact to traffic flow and,
Correct, you'd have to analyze because, correct, that's right. So the use for trucks, we'll have to analyze that.
and that is something that we would already be looking at, or is that something that we can request?
It should be included in the traffic study, but we can definitely define that as well.
Okay, because I understand even if it was commercial, there would be truck access for deliveries and all, but the amount, the percentage of trucks versus car would be radically different if it's,
We will definitely have
Industrial.
to analyze those and mitigate any impacts.
and can I ask why we're not looking at hazards and hazardous materials in this location? If it's gonna be refrigerated, I don't know what is gonna be in there or what we look at when it's a refrigerated location.
So is there a specific?
Why are we not
Concern?
looking at it? Yeah, why are we not looking at that?
Well, so hazards was addressed in the initial study document. So there is an analysis within that that covers those particular thresholds.
Actually, it
There's
says,
something,
the initial study, can I request that we look at that further? Because it was in the initial.
yes, you can. It's just, is there something specific within hazards that you're looking for so that we can ensure that we're addressing your concern correctly?
Well, let me explain, maybe you can help me
Absolutely.
reframe my question. So I don't know what's going to be stored in these refrigerated locations, and I know sometimes when things are refrigerated, there is going to be obviously condensation, there's going to be some kind of water leakage potentially. So I guess I'm thinking about the hazards of having, I don't know what kind of materials, what kind of byproducts might be produced.
Okay, so the concern is over what may be stored and making sure that we address that appropriately.
And the I guess, elimination of the condensation and evaporation and all.
Okay, understood.
Okay, thank you.
I'm making my notes.
We can also ask Michael Brown to kind of clarify hazards. Sometimes maybe the things that you're concerned might
Not
be
be
like greenhouse gas, not necessarily hazard, because there's different definitions of what is classified as hazard. Maybe Michael Brown can answer that if we wanted to ask him that question.
Could we, because there's air quality, so I want to know what the difference between air quality and what will qualify as a hazardous material or a hazard.
Good evening, Commissioners. So the main difference there is air quality is the emissions from the equipment that may be operating at the site, as well as the vehicles traveling to and from the site. Are we generating a substantial increase in criteria pollutants or possibly diesel particulates, which would be a cancerous source of emissions there? Hazards and hazardous materials, what we're generally dealing with there is like the storage, use, and transport of potentially hazardous materials. Or in other cases, it's a matter of, where is the site located, in close proximity to an airport or something? Is that location hazardous? That's what we deal with in all of North Paris and everything. So those are sort of the differences. The hazards is more what's stored and used at the site. Air quality is what's being emitted by the new sources of pollutants.
Okay, so yeah, I would like that to add because we don't know what's going to be stored. there or potentially. So I would like hopefully a closer look. Or do we have parameters within our city of what can be stored? If they have a refrigerated location, can they store whatever they want there? Or do we have regulations?
Yeah, the municipal code does have regulations and things, and so, but we can certainly expand on that a bit if you make you more comfortable.
Please. And then I know we're looking at the energy use, but you brought up a really good point because refrigerated versus non-refrigerated, there is a huge difference. So now we're going from commercial to a regular industrial which has a certain amount of energy use and a certain amount of air quality impact. So now refrigerator, we're adding an extra layer. And I'm assuming if we're using refrigeration storage, we're going to need refrigerated transportation. So can we look at the difference between that two? Because it wouldn't be a regular big rig.
No, absolutely. That's one of the things we do is we make sure that the environmental analyses, whether it's an EIR or an initial study, mitigated neg def, that it reflects the project as proposed.
Okay.
So if it's a refrigerated facility, we make sure that everything, air quality, traffic, even a refrigerated facility has a different trip generation rate than a high cube does, than a standard light industrial. So we make sure that it's consistent with the actual land use that is proposed.
Okay, good.
Including energy demand, the truck transport, the refrigeration units, all of those things, yes. We make sure that happens.
The environmental impact with those refrigerated vehicles is very different than a regular diesel vehicle.
Absolutely.
So we do. Okay, I like that. And also, I wanted to ask about aesthetics. Can you tell me when something would cause an impact, or when we can look at aesthetics, or what we're looking at when we look at that?
So on this one, I'm speaking as the city staff here who has reviewed the initial study that was done. And we did scope out a number of topics here so that we're not looking at a comprehensive EIR. Those are actually the rarity. Those are typically done when an applicant just wants to sort of cover all bases. Let's just put it all in the EIR. So here, the effort that the applicant wanted to do and that city staff support is a focused EIR where we're looking at certain topics where basically we don't know the answer right now. It's not that we know that the impacts are going to be significant. It's that we don't know that they're not going to be significant. So we're going to be studying those in greater detail in an EIR. For the topics that have been scoped out, such as aesthetics, we did do the thorough analysis using the CEQA guidelines here. It's not a matter of, is it an ugly building? Do we not like the colors? Those are things that basically, those are in your purview, but they are not environmental impacts. Those are more, subjective, if you will, and to your discretion. What we deal with here are things like, loss of scenic views, the generation of light and glare. So even on this one, even though we have scoped out the aesthetics in the initial study from the draft EIR, we have done analyses of each of the aesthetic topics, and we actually have identified mitigation for the generation of light during construction, for example, because it's across the street from existing homes. We don't want the temporary construction lights shining into neighbors' homes. So we have mitigation for that already in the initial study. That will be carried over into the EIR, but we felt that the analysis in the initial study was adequate so that we did not have to evaluate it further in EIR. Basically, the analysis in the initial study would be the same if we had it in an EIR. But so it's the same sort of issues that we address for all of our projects in the city here.
When we looked at that, do we look at potential or future projects? This is where I'm coming from. Across the street, it's commercial. If somebody has a nice sit-down restaurant, and there's different building elevations depending on whether it's commercial, industrial, whatnot. So if somebody wanted to come in and build a nice sit-down restaurant, now the view does change. So did we look only at what's there, or did we look at potential impact on future?
We look at what the impacts are of the project. And then from a cumulative standpoint, it's a matter of what other things are proposed in the area. In this case here, to the immediate west of this site, there's an application in with the city of Paris for a fuel facility, a truck and an automobile fuel facility. So, we're not looking at the sensitivity quite so much of that one, if you will.
I mean, I might want to look at
At
something
least I'm not
fruity when I'm
expecting people to
getting
be
gas.
sitting out expecting a nice, dinner.
I want to see Nicaragua when I'm pumping gas. Okay, so when we look at the cumulative impact, that was kind of what Commissioner Gomez was asking for, kind of like best case scenario where we keep it at commercial. This is the impact versus worst case scenario where now we're looking at.
I think to clarify what Commissioner Gomez was really looking for was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but my interpretation of it is that you are looking for the EIR to not only evaluate the impacts of the project, but to also have analyses of the alternatives to the project, one of which would be the existing, a commercial use developed consistent with the existing commercial zoning, or a possible business park that the site could be developed that way, as opposed to light industrial, maybe do a zone change there to BP instead. That would be in the alternatives analysis. And that would look at each of the topics from the EIR, comparing those land uses to the proposed project. Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Good.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I was looking to see where that fell under because I was under my notes too. Yeah. So there was that, noise levels to refrigerated diesel trucks have a much higher sound
Correct.
than, so noise levels will be looked at. I guess I'm trying to
Correct.
make sure that every item is hit in all of them. So like when we're looking at using a refrigerated big rig, the air quality impact, the hazards potentially.
Correct.
And the
because
noise
they're
level.
idling longer unless they can hook up to an electrical system there. Yes, those
Okay.
are the things we will
I want to
definitely
make sure
have
that
to look at.
we tap into them in every area and we really get to see a full impact of all these alternatives that were brought up. As well as, I did see that we also have the no change, leave it as is also going to be one of those alternatives.
Correct. I mean, under CEQA, you have a no project alternative.
Yeah.
That can be taken two ways, and it can be evaluated both ways. One is nothing, no project. The other one is a project built to the existing general plan, land use, and zoning designation, in which case here, commercial. So yes, that will definitely be an alternative in the CIR.
Okay, so we will be looking, just to clarify, I want to make sure I got this correct. We're going to be looking at the no development, commercial as is, and are we going to be looking at, I guess I also want to make sure that we're looking at commercial that aligns to what's in the city and not commercial where we're going to have 1,000 stores, which is not realistic.
I think the team, being staff, along with the EIR consultant, will come up with a realistic sort of commercial scenario to look at.
Okay.
One of the things we have to take into consideration here is, like Nathan identified, all of the land uses surrounding this site now are zoned for, non-residential uses, both in Paris and in Menifee. The closest residential uses are on the other side of the freeway within the Green Valley specific plan area. And as you know, to the south of Ethonac, then on the other side of the freeway in Menifee, that area is all zoned for industrial as well. So we may not be looking for, regional shopping center type of thing. There aren't, as we've talked about earlier this evening, there aren't the rooftops, type of thing. So we'd have to look at something maybe a bit more realistic for that area. But the intent is to answer your question. What is the comparison of the proposed project versus what could be developed under the existing zoning designation?
Yeah, there was another one that I just forgot. Hopefully it comes to me. Hopefully it comes to me because there was another one and I didn't write it down. So when everybody gets a chance, I hope it comes back to me. Thank you.
Question for Nathan is, does the city of Menifee have a truck route that's going to be affecting this area? Are they going through 74? How would they use this area?
So I haven't really researched the Menifee truck routes, but I do know that Etenac is a truck route for Menifee, so.
On the Menifee side only?
Both, City of Paris and Menifee.
I do want to just add to note that there a lot of the designation on Etenac Road east of here is in Menifee is almost all industrial. So, and like Nathan said, it is their truck route on Etenac on this segment. And it's also in our segment, Etenac. It's a truck route to the freeway. So just want to give the context to what's going on here.
So a quick mapping question, and how well you know the city of Menifee. What is the eastbound, how far does Menifee extend?
Well, the City of Menifee city limits, you're talking about the boundaries, right?
Yes.
Okay, so half of Sherman Road is actually, half of it's in Paris and half of it's actually in the City of Menifee. And then there's a segment of Etenac Road that's half in the City of Paris and half in the City of Menifee, all the way up to Trumbull Road. If IT could pull up the exhibit for my presentation. Okay. So that red line is pretty much the City of Menifee city limits. And yeah, it kind of traverses through through some of the parcels to the north. But like Kenneth was mentioning, that all these parcels here pretty much are allowed to have industrial-based uses.
So how much further east does city of Menifee extend to?
It's approximately 3 miles heading on the east end.
Okay. Thank you, Nathan.
Okay.
So Michael, I thank you very much for the clarification of what we're looking at to get from the study, the CEQA study regarding the conversion of the zoning. But I'd like to actually see what other effects is there. How does the conversion change from public utilities, power usage, water usage, and then energy as well, and what kind of things are affected there, and what is the effect of the non-conforming existing housing too that's there? How does that zone change affect them as well?
Okay, very good. I would like to clarify one thing, maybe sort of add on, knowing Commissioner Jimenez's concerns here. One of the things that we do, as you know, we have a lot of projects here in Paris, especially in northern Paris, and we have a number of non-conforming residential uses throughout the area. And, a number of them are going away as things are built up and everything. But I know we have a number of residents here tonight that are looking to talk. But one of the, who are probably concerned about this. One of the things that Paris does is that even if a residence is a non-conforming land use, our analyses treat it as a sensitive receptor because that's what it is until it goes away. We know that a non-conforming use, you cannot build the new house. You cannot do certain modifications to that existing house or something. Basically, you're stuck with that, what you have, until you can then change something that's consistent with the existing zoning, or you change the zoning. Anyways, We do this in Paris. We're doing this for this project here where the sensitive receptors in Menifee. We're going to treat them as sensitive. So our health analyses, our localized air quality analyses, our noise analyses are going to be treating those homes, even though they're non-conforming, as sensitive uses. The project's going to be required to comply with its good neighbor policies, even though these homes are non-conforming, but they're also in Menifee, but the project is going to be doing that. But I just want to clarify that we're not, I know that Commissioner Gomez was concerned with this designation of non-conforming. That does not mean non-sensitive. And Paris treats all of these uses, with the proper respect and everything, so. Yes, and going back to your comment, Commissioner Shively, yes, every topic that's in the EIR, for those alternatives, we will be comparing each thing, energy, air quality, transportation, all of that. Yes, we're not going to just look at, one particular topic. Everything will be compared for those alternatives. So if your concern is energy and Commissioner Jimenez's concern is air quality, and Commissioner Lopez is concerned about, landscaping, whatever, everything's going to be touched on for all of those topics.
Okay. I know that the residents in Menifee are not, they are a concern of somewhat of ours because they are our neighbors. Question for Kenneth is, what is the policy of non-conforming residential uses? Must they be occupied at all times? Can they, and if those are no longer occupied for any length of time, is that use no longer valid?
I can only speak on the Paris code, not necessarily the Menifee code. So if a property is in the city of Paris and it's in an industrial zone and it has a single-family home, if it's non-occupied for a year, then it loses legal non-conforming right. Or if it gets damaged through unforeseen circumstance, I believe it's up to 75%, they couldn't rebuild it back. So I can only speak on Paris regulation. I can't speak on Menifee regulations.
Okay. Yeah, make it fast.
One more on land use and planning. What do we look at when we look at this? Do we look at the percentage of loss? Because I know we're very limited on our commercial now. Is that something that we look at, the overall impact of land use or designation within our city?
No, what we generally look at here is there's a certain number of specific policies throughout the City of Paris general plan that have been adopted for the purpose of reducing or avoiding environmental impacts. Those are the policies that we evaluate under CEQA in the environmental document. There are other policies that are more planning related, if you will, and those are under your purview and that of the city council and things. So we will be looking specifically at the policies that were adopted for the purpose of avoiding or reducing environmental impacts. So we're not looking at everything. We won't, under CEQA, we don't look at the change of land use. That's something that possibly, that staff could provide that information for you. That's not necessarily a CEQA issue, but that doesn't mean that that's not something that you would want to consider. But it's generally not looked at in the environmental documents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's getting a little cooler here. We're moving around. Okay. Yes, I promise not to make this too long, but I'm going to conceptualize this a little better because there have been about 2,000 secret projects in 21 years, so I already know the stuff that you're talking about. One of the things I'm looking at too, when you're talking about the residences there, non-conforming, they're not going to be, unless it's eminent domain, they're going to stay there for a while. So let's be realistic about talking about that going industrial. Unless they want to pay $1 billion to each one of them. It's not going to happen. So that's going to be there now, so let's recognize that that's going to be there now. Sensitive receptors are going to be very important. Now, one of the things I would say, and they brought it up, is the alternatives. And I push this in almost every secret meeting. The alternatives are going to be key. We always say no project. That's for the last 20 years, no project. That's not the one I'm talking about because the city's not going for that. The other thing is, well, number one, there's several alternatives that could be looked at. Number one, reduction in the building size. That changes the VMTs. So when you reduce the size from 412,000 to possible 300, that's going to change the VMTs and miles traveled. That changes your other things. Look at that. The other two things, if you're going from community commercial to light industrial, you're obviously going to have more VMTs because you have trucks. You also have trucks parked on the eastern end. So you have to consider idle trucks that are part of the eastern parking lot. If there's a reduction in the size of the building, then you're going to may have to look at a different development plan that has them to the north of this lot and what impact that would have as opposed to the eastern portion. This is how you get detailed in CEQA, okay? So when you're talking about the reduction in the size, that's one alternative. Maintaining community commercial versus that is a different VMT than it is when you have trucks that are going in that area. Right now, that street to the side of Sherman is not wide enough for anything, virtually. It's horrible. It's very narrow. And so you see trucks going up, and I went up there and had to turn around, go up in a lot just to come back. So that's a consideration since you're not having any vehicles over there. It's very close to the residences. So your sensitive receptors are going to be very important on the east side. But depending on those alternatives that you're talking about, whether it's trucks, whether it's community commercial, or business park, it's going to change those vehicle miles traveled, the type of vehicles, the type of trucks that would be there, right? Okay. One of the things that was put down in the study was it's not e-commerce, not anticipated. It's also a spec building, so you don't know who's coming in. But it's also e-commerce, and there's these EV stalls, that's good, but it's e-commerce. So you may have 50% refrigeration, you may not. So you still have to do the study to determine if there's 50% refrigeration, what's that going to be impacted, the kind of traffic that would be impact that area. Ethernac Road is another one, transportation study, because if you're adding trucks, they're going up Ethernac. Look at Ethernac now. Look at Harley Knox now. Okay? So if you're talking about additional trucks, so those are things that would have, it's going to be trucks going up and down there. So that's one of the things I would like to see looked at.
Commissioner Hammond, or Chair Hammond, if I may, in 2018, the state changed the state CEQA guidelines, and they revised the thresholds, if you will, and congestion is no longer allowed to be used as a CEQA analysis. Now it's VMT. The city is allowed, and they do require traffic impact analyses. And the results of the traffic impact analyses are used for the development of the conditions of approval and things. But we are no longer allowed to consider congestion and things in the environmental documents, unfortunately. So I know you'd really love to see it. We would love to see it, you know, and everything. But
it can't be because first they couldn't change it from LOSF anyway.
Right.
So the idea is that, VMT is the thing right now, not the congestion because Harley Knox would be closed down now. In fact,
I just wanted to clarify.
The 6215 would be closed now. Let's talk. But yeah, I understand that. Trust me, I've been through a million of these. But the idea is that it's going to impact from that facility and the roads, when you're talking about the future property. I'm not even going to talk about that. But the roads and all the other things will be impacted based upon what you approve on that location. So if it's commercial, it's different. Obviously, if you're talking about warehouse, if you're talking about 412,000 versus 300,000 or 250, big difference in the number of vehicle miles traveled. Right. Signalizing, all of the other things may have to change. That's what we look at when we talk about transportation, we talk about land use. So I'm just compartmentalizing what they've been talking about, just making it very easy for you.
Right. Thank you.
So because it's spec and the potential for cold storage, and we don't know who's coming in there, we don't really know what's going to be in there. I'm not worried about hazardous material because there's a lot of regulations with hazardous material that you just can't do, okay? But it's no train things dropping off. That's not the issue. The issue is what do we want in terms of what kind of zoning would produce environmental impact on the type of zoning that would be there. Not saying good, not saying bad about the project, just what would be the difference. That should be studied in alternatives, and very specifically, because no project is not going to be accepted by the city. Okay, that's just not going to be accepted. I mean, in 21 years, it's never been accepted. So it's an economic benefit to have something there. It always has been. Every city council person been with in the last 20, it always said that's not an alternative. I'm just saying it right up front on the record. So it's a matter of what's going to be there and what they ultimately approve and what we decide on. But we should study it, as we've said, what all these different impacts would be if we change that zoning. So it's kind of basic stuff, but I just want to going on the record with it more than anything else. It's close proximity to those places, smaller buildings, smaller structure. What would be that alternative as opposed to this structure? That's kind of basic. Business park is going to be total different VMT than it would be this. So I think those are some basic things that can easily be researched in this area, because obviously any of those are going to impact the area one way or the other. It's to the extent of the environmental impact that they're going to have depending on what you do. If you have a gas station in the corner and that's it, that's a whole lot different than have 412,000 square feet. So you see the difference? So obviously, that's going to be impacted. And I think that's pretty much in a nutshell.
You brought something of that I thought about. Can we also look at the impact of, I mean, we just converted commercial to multifamily. Can we also look at that as one of the alternatives? Converting it, commercial to multifamily, the impact of converting to that, or is that not one of the things we can look at? Because that would also be,
That would be, just because it's very unlikely to have multiple family there based on the situation, I think it just would be better just should you suggestion of commercial BP and light industrial.
are you sure? Because we're saying we're not getting businesses down here because there's no houses, and that's what they're looking for. So we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by not looking at that as an alternative. Or would it be really expensive to look at that? Because if that's, I mean, I understand that's one of the reasons that we're not getting that. And if we convert this, the potential of just expanding industrial and losing all that commercial is high, where if we build houses, there may be,
I think, if I can add to that, that's a good question. However, the non-conforming residents are in a light industrial area as it is now. So would we consider multifamily next to a light industrial building? Just putting it out
yeah,
there.
that's a good question.
Not to belabor it, but several years ago, multifamily was proposed there. You guys do your research, because I always do it for you. But go back and look. There was multifamily was proposed there. It was never possible. Yeah, I do remember that project because I was talking about what was going on. I thought it was the county. There were sheep and goats and things over there. But I said at the time, multifamily was proposed. I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying it was proposed there at one time, maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, at that location. And this is in addition to the fact that it was legal not, they still had it proposed in the city of Paris. It was apartment buildings, and they were going to be similar to the ones on Van Buren by the theater. So it's not saying it have never been, it was done. Guaranteed it was done. Now, it wasn't built. The guy probably fell through or whatever, but we're talking several years ago. I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying, I'm just giving you background because it's just been here too long, that it was proposed at one time, and it was approved. It just never got built. I'll end that discussion.
I would add a context. You're probably right, and we can look through our record. But I know that the city of Menifee, I think a while back, rezoned that area to industrial. That's why it's that's why it probably created the situation where it would be further kind of in the middle of a.
Oh yeah, it's just saying the background. Somehow that got proposed in Paris, and this may be even before that. But I don't want to prolong that. So I don't. I think we pretty much covered the topics that they're going to discuss. They have a long tree list, but I appreciate the patience. If there's anything else, and I think we've just about worn that out. Okay, there's no voting, right? It's just the scoping. We don't vote, do we?
No, but you should allow for public comment.
Oh yeah, I mean there's no voting. So we're just talking right now. So we're not moving to. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, now we move to public comment portion. Always going to have public comment. Public comment on this particular agenda item. You're welcome to come forward. I didn't see any requests that came before us, but anyone in a member of the public can come forward at this time to the podium and speak on this particular agenda item at this time. Oh, yeah, there is interpretations. Okay. He's awake too. He's awake too. Okay. Oh, here he is. No, we're just making sure
Just
that
making sure they know that you're here.
there. Oh,
Not
okay,
yet.
okay.
No.
You just want to take a bow. It's okay. Okay.
Can we announce that in Spanish just in case somebody needs those services? También queremos dejarles saber que tenemos servicio de interpretación si alguien gustaría o se sentiría más cómodo hablando en español y tenemos servicio de intérprete para que puedan interpretar al inglés.
Thank you. Something got hot up here again. Okay, there we go. Phew, man. Anyway, we close the public comment portion. Oh, I think, yeah, they were. Once again, if this is public comment, I won't close it. Is there public comment at any time anyone would like to come forward at this time? It's good. Okay. Seeing none? Okay. We post the public comment. Oh, okay.
Es español.
Okay, that's what we're just, okay. You want him to come out? It's hot and cold up here. You're kind of like. You came out. Just have her state her. I know, see? Have her state, just make sure you state her full name and spell her last name for us.
Nereida Mendoza. Es Mendoza.
Gracias.
Did you get the name? Oh, okay, you got it. Very good. Diga su punto.
Mi pregunta es, las personas que nos llegaron esta carta, ¿qué significa para nosotros los propietarios?
We received this letter. This is for all of us that own these properties. What does that mean to us? Are you familiar with this letter?
I can't see.
¿Qué es la carta?
No sé.
This is a notice of scoping meeting and preparation on a draft environmental impact report, Ethernet Logistics Center project. Are you from? She's asking if you know what it's about.
It's a letter notifying her of the meeting tonight
Excuse me. Go ahead.
and to let her know that, she's got an opportunity to speak on this project.
¿Decir algo o nada más quería saber qué era la carta?
Pues la carta se refiere a la propiedad de nosotros, pero
The letter is referring to our property.
¿cuáles son los beneficios o de qué se trata?
What would be the benefits? What would be our benefits? Or what is this letter about?
Is your property adjacent to the project site?
Yes, it is.
So the project will analyze any impacts to your property.
Yes.
So when the environmental document is prepared, you have another opportunity to comment on the project and let us know what your concerns are.
Las preocupaciones mías
My
son como
concern
el
are,
tráfico,
for instance, traffic,
el ruido,
Noise? Perdón? I forgot another question I had.
Pues más que nada me preocupa el tráfico
Most of all, I'm really concerned about traffic. Porque
porque yo tengo niños menores de edad.
Because I have
cerca de la
minors,
calle.
I got small children that close to the school and to the, I'm sorry, to the streets.
Y está muy pegada mi propiedad a la avenida.
And that's very close to my property, to this avenue.
So the project will analyze traffic, and we do appreciate your comments. They will be included as part of the analysis.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
You know, do us a favor and state your name so everyone knows who
Sorry,
you
my
are.
name is Albert Garcia.
You're a star here.
Okay, Garcia.
Gracias, señor. Take your time. Take it.
Good evening, gentlemen and gentlelady. I am Mr. Rodolfo Lacson, the owner.
Spell your last name for us. Your
Sir?
last name. Spell your last name for us.
My name is Rodolfo G. Lacson. My property is in the corner of Etinac and Sherman Road. And I want to know what's the impact of my property when this project gonna begin, and if my property is included in the proposed project. That's why I want to know if I have to move or what.
As you, I can let the staff answer, but we don't normally answer, but I'll let the staff answer.
Is your property adjacent to the project site?
Beg your pardon, ma'am?
Is your property adjacent to the project site? Next to it or across the
Just
street?
right on the corner of Etinac and Sherman Road.
So it's across the
According to
street
this
from,
letter, the 10 properties included in the project.
Is your property,
lot.
is it a residence across the street from the project site? Is your property located across the street from the project site?
This is Sherman Road, right? The vacant lot is here. Across is my property right on the corner of Etinac and Sherman Road.
So you're across the street from the
Is it
project site?
included in the project?
It's across the street from the project site,
Is it?
yes.
So we're gonna end up moving? That's why I want.
No, the reason for the meeting today is to hear your concerns about the project. If you have any concerns, like the resident who just spoke, you can let us know if you have any concerns related to traffic or quality. Let us know what your concerns are so we can include them in the analysis for the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think he's worried, like, does this mean his
Thank you.
location would be torn down? Does he have to move?
No, you don't. Sir?
Sir, wait. She-
Oh, sorry.
So you don't have to move? You don't have to move. You can continue to live at your, in your house. This will be a project across the street from your house.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you do us a favor, just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
My name is Brittany Connor, Conner. I live in the community adjacent to this property or proposed project, and my concern is, well, traffic is predominantly my concern. If you are familiar at all with Sherman Road, you would know that anytime it rains, the road floods and is closed. So that alone is a problem for residents, but then if you're going to increase traffic in all the surrounding roads, it's just going to be a nightmare for all the residents. All 3 streets around this proposed property are 2 lanes, only 2 lanes. So my concern is if you're having all these trucks drive down Trumbull and down Ethanak, what are the roads going to look like? Not just the traffic, but the deterioration to the roads. And it wasn't mentioned that north of this, there are also houses. It was stated that east is where the community is at, but there's also a small group of houses to the north of this project. And the other residents, if you notice, they're Spanish speaking. That's a problem with the residents in our community. These letters went out in English only. So the majority of my neighbors are Spanish speaking and they don't understand what the letter said. They don't understand what the project is. They don't understand the impact to their community. I think that needs to be taken into consideration too, because a lot of those residents, they don't have access to email, or they don't know that they're supposed to email. They don't know about the meeting tonight. So I think all that needs to be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think not only the Albert Associates should note that because for the future, because we need to really, and the city should note that because that's always going to be an issue, and that's something we don't have control of.
Can I ask a quick question? Are there guidelines? I know within the education system, if you have a certain percentage of speakers of a different language, we are required to send documentation in that language. I don't know if there's any requirements like that for cities, states to offer it in additional languages, or if they would like a translation.
There's none that I'm aware of, but just recognizing this neighborhood has a lot of Spanish speaker, we'll make the request for the developer to have a translated notice in Spanish.
Yeah. Can I ask how many of the residents need Spanish or another language? Because I think the gentleman that spoke right before was not a Spanish speaker.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't
Can we
catch.
ask- Well, I don't think everybody was a Spanish speaker. I think the gentleman that spoke right before, Mr. Rodolfo, was not a Spanish speaker. So I just want to make sure that the community members are aware of what is happening.
Yes, we'll, just for future notice, it will be in Spanish too, as a second option.
Can we have
Other like,
Yeah, if requested only. I don't know, I know what it is within education, but I don't know with government organizations.
That's hasn't been made a requirement. I know this requirement for a translator, that's why we have a translator back there. But I think just knowing this, as I mentioned, just knowing in this area, there's a predominant, seems like a predominant or a good number of Spanish speaker, we would ask the developer to have a Spanish speaker. And if there's any other feedback or someone came to our office, we'll make the necessary accommodation if we know there's other language speakers around.
Thank you.
It also might be, as we work for government, it might be sufficient to say when you send out letters, if you send out English, also say that there's potential. In other words, these languages, you put this there, I get stuff in 70 different languages. I'm going to speak it, but it's there. So if you need interpretations, it's on there in Spanish, it's on there in Tagalog, it's on there and there. If they seek that, they can require that. So they may have to call 800, they have to go online, but at least make it available so that if they don't speak that primary language of English, it's on the sheet, it's on the notice. Since we don't send out the notice, but I mean, that may be something that future consideration for Albert E. Webb's. And that's beyond our level here, but that's something that should be kind of basic that, and then maybe a city attorney thing. Even with city council thing, we have to start doing that. But the idea is if you send out notices, like election stuff is going to be in several different languages. So I don't know if we want, that's a financial thing too, but at least notice that if you have speaking this language, this is who you contact, blah, 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 blah. And that might help in the interim. But I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
I agree, and I'm also concerned if the letters for notices or meetings are all going out in English, they may not understand the letter, and if they do understand the letter and they show up, but it's all in English, there's not a lot of dialogue.
Do we need to close public comment in order for me to ask staff a question? No?
No, you can ask right now, or you can withhold until after the close of public comment.
Okay, I'd like to wait then.
Sorry, is there any more public comment? Didn't mean to cut it off. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We close the public comment. We bring it to the commission.
Yes, thank you. I have a question for staff. I see in the recommendation, it says the staff recommends planning commission conduct a public scoping meeting. Is that what we're doing now, or is this in addition to what we're doing now? That's what we're doing now? Okay. I was wondering, do we know if, other than the letter that was sent out to the public, if the developer did an analysis or asked for feedback from the community in regards to this development?
Not yet that I'm aware of.
Not yet? Okay. But it would need to be documented, is that correct, if it does get done?
It would be. So some of the other zone change have done
Right.
community outreach.
Okay.
But
I guess it would be good for them to note that if they were to move forward with the project, that they may want to conduct a community outreach. Okay, thank you.
Anybody? Okay. And I think that's a point well taken, that all of them should do canvas community to some degree, because, I mean, you can do the formal process, but then informally, just walk in the neighborhoods and you'll find out the things we're finding out now.
Right.
Yeah, there's communication issues, there's understanding issues, and some of it could be mediated if the developers take the initiative to do that. I think that would be one of those things. Like all the other projects, some of them way overboard. But I'd rather go way overboard and find out what that, then you start finding, oh, well, we need to get some interpreters and things like that. But then, that's my personal thing. Okay. That it? Okay. Oh, we're not really voting on it, so we're pretty much closed on that one. Thank you very much. And you conducted a scoping meeting, and hopefully we got enough comments for quite a few comments. We got you involved this time, didn't we? Thank you very much. Okay. And with that, we move on. We're not going to be 12 o'clock, don't worry. We move on to item 6D. Conditional use permit, 23-05025. A proposal to construct an 8,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial building consisting of a 3,000 square foot restaurant, the Habit Burger Grill, and two 2,500 square foot tenant spaces on an existing 1.16 acre lot within the Paris Spectrum Shopping Center, located on the west side of Paris Boulevard and the north side of Orange Avenue in a commercial community zone. Requested action, adopt resolution number 23-31. Finding the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, review pursuant to section 15332, infill development projects, and approving CUP 23-05025. Based on the findings and subject to conditions of approval, is there any ex parte communication, site visits, etc.?
I drive by the site regularly.
I drive by the site.
I drive by the site and shop at that shopping center frequently.
Yeah, it's Wells Fargo in there. We're pretty familiar with that one. Even before the Walmart was there with it. That's sad. Okay, and if she comes in, she can answer that. Your turn, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, staff, members of the public. My name is Alfredo Garcia. I'm your Associate Planner. And as mentioned this evening, we are reviewing Conditional Use Permit 23-05025. The project site is located in the Paris Spectrum Shopping Center. Both land use and zoning are consistent as commercial community. Some of the immediate surrounding land uses are a parking lot to the north. We have the Taco Bell and the Wells Fargo to the east, more parking lot to the west, and to the south we have the El Indio Mexican restaurant. This is an updated aerial image that shows a portion of the shopping center and illustrating the 1.16 acre site of the proposed project. This is an internal view looking south at the project location. There's another internal view looking west. Another view looking north. And an internal view looking east at the vacant site. Here we have the site plan. As mentioned in the staff report, tonight they're proposing an 8,000 square foot multi-tenant building on 1.16 acres. As part of the building, we have a proposed anchor of the Habit Burger utilizing 3,000 square feet and 2 additional suites comprising of 2,500 square feet each for commercial use, for future commercial use. The closest entrance and exit to the subject site is along Orange Avenue via right in, right out. There are other points of exit and entrance and exiting to the commercial site scattered throughout the site that would have access along Paris Boulevard and Orange Avenue. However, the closest point from the intersection going west on Orange is the closest point to enter and exit to the subject site. The project also proposes a 364 square foot outdoor patio area, a drive-through that would accommodate the stacking of 13 vehicles, and as well as 2 new trash enclosures and 10% of drought-tolerant landscape. And while we're on the subject of landscaping, here's the landscape plan. As mentioned, the plant palette is from drought-tolerant plants, as well as the incorporation of more colorful plants to provide more visual interest to the subject site. With respect to the commercial development standards of the municipal code, they are met and even exceeded at certain times. With respect to our parking standards, just for the record, there was a typo in the square footage that was calculated. In fact, we have a smaller square footage that we're working with. Therefore, we actually have a surplus of 19 spaces. Here we have a rendering of the building. I believe Ms. Arvizu has the material board. If she could be so kind as to pass it out. Thank you, Ms. Arvizu. The proposed architecture of the building is modern. It utilizes vertical and horizontal articulation. It incorporates the corporate colors of the Habit Burger company. It utilizes horizontal wood tiles, incorporation of brick veneer, metal canopies, iron grid work that utilizes a lot of open surface areas on the wall. And all these elements are used in all 4 sides of the structure, creating more visual interest to the building. Here we have the 2D color elevations of the building. This is the south and the north elevation. And here we have before you the west and east elevation of the buildings. With respect to the CEQA process, the project is categorically exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act under Section 15332 as infill development projects. With that said, staff's recommendation this evening is for the Planning Commission to adopt PC Resolution 23-31, categorically exempting CUP 23-05025 from the Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15332 for infill development projects, as well as approving CUP 23-05025 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval reflected in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions that the commission may have. We also have the applicant representative here this evening to further provide more information that the commission may request.
Thank you. And in keeping with our pattern, we would like to, if the developer would like to come up at this time and not prepare a speech, don't worry. But if you have a presentation or anything you'd like to to do at this time. Just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Sure, my name is Satvinder Singh, last name Singh. And I'm a developer and also I'm a franchisee for the Habit Burger. We own 13 restaurants in Riverside County. We have Menifee, Moreno Valley, Temecula, and we're gonna build about 15 more. So company's looking the one for Paris. That's how we found the land and we're gonna build one there.
50?
15 more.
Oh.
Not 15. Not with the New California $20. We can do 50. So.
Oh, okay. Do we have any questions? This is a new pattern. So if you have any questions for staff or the developer at this time, go for it.
I have a question for staff. Alfredo, was there any discussions in bringing up the percentage of the landscaping for the project?
Yeah, I need.
Well, the project does meet the percentage reflected in municipal code of 10%. However, staff can work with the developer and trying to see where we can add a little bit more percentage, perhaps by looking at the site plan, maybe we can add what they call landscape diamonds, maybe, that could add a little bit more percentage, a little more greenery, maybe proposing some dwarf trees that could add to the vegetation canopy and maybe not block out the architecture. But definitely something staff can look into to see if we can bump up that percentage if the applicant is willing to work with us.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe around the perimeter of the project as well.
Okay.
I've seen that you guys have 19 parking spaces. That's a surplus. Maybe we could use a couple of those for some of the landscaping.
Very good.
One more concern. This one, I'm open to discussion with my fellow commissioners. My concern is with the north elevation. It looks a little plain, in my opinion. Maybe we could swap out one of the materials on that one or include the trellis, or it looks like a frame for a trellis. Maybe we could add landscaping there or something. Just a suggestion. I'm open for a discussion on that one. And that'll be it.
Alfredo, when we were looking at this, did we look at, because it's technically the same shopping center where we approved the KFC, all those, did we look at the landscaping to kind of mesh it together or the color scheme?
It's similar in the drought-tolerant palette. However, this one adds a little more color than the one that's proposed for the KFC and the multi-tenant building. Staff took that information from other previous projects that the commission had let us know, so we took that into consideration for this project.
Okay. And Mr. Singh, I know that some franchises require that you maintain their like specific color schemes and certain looks, certain signage. For the Habit, is it a requirement that the whole development has the same colors, or is the requirement that only the Habits portion have it?
We have some multi-tenant drive-through just like this in Moreno Valley. Actually, all the colors look kind of same. And we can work with the colors. I mean, if you guys want to make some changes, we can definitely work with it. That's no problem.
Or even the elevations to kind of match, because I know when we started working up there, we kind of wanted to start building out this section and really, really making it highlighted and pretty. So maybe matching the elevation, because that's kind of like the look we're going for. So kind of there's more continuity between one area of the city to the next. Because I think the elevations for the multi-tenant and that Little Caesars and KFC are really, really pretty driving by. And I know this one's like right smack in the middle of the development, but if we give it a facelift, maybe it'll encourage others to have a facelift. Are there any plans to upgrade the existing flooring around the what is that called? That asphalt around, because it's really cracked, it's really worn down.
And we're going to fix the whole
That's all
parking
gonna-
lot, yes.
Okay. Are there plans for lighting along the trees? I go there a lot. more than I should sometimes. Have you been to those tacos? So, is there plans to have lighting because it does tend to get dark in this area at night?
Sure, I mean, we can definitely add some lights.
Yeah.
With your recommendation.
And I like what Commissioner Lopez was saying because the area over there by the multi-tenant has a beautiful trellis and it really feels welcoming. So maybe having some of those, I don't know if the applicant is open to having some of those features brought over. There's like a nice little walkway, there's a trellis. Yes. Those are really nice. And when you get out of your car, you're not in beaming sun the whole time.
Are you familiar with the pergolas that are in the parking area? Have you been to the site?
Yeah, you mean me? Oh, yeah, many times. So we were gonna do the KFC like a few years back. I'm a KFC franchisee too, but somebody else did it. So I'm really familiar with the plaza.
With that little area with the little
Yes, but the KFC is not
shades.
mine, yes.
Oh,
So,
that's too bad.
I mean, if you look at Little Caesar multi-tenant building and the whole building look pretty similar, right?
Yes.
And
I think I'm not a big fan of orange.
no, I mean, we can
Yeah.
definitely work with that.
It's
you
like
know.
a
It's not
brownish
orange, it's
orange.
like brownish.
It is
like-
brownish,
like
yeah,
dark
brownish.
brown.
Oh.
Yeah. The habits all have the same colors, like the McDonald's red. There's
Or the eyesore there is the two huge buildings that are different color, but I'm not gonna talk about that one, are we? No, not today.
oh no today.
But I think you understand where we're coming from. I think she's making a good point, making sure that it flows together, right? And any uplighting would be nice as well with the trees. You're bringing this into this shopping center. It's going to lift it up. We have other buildings that are also working with lifting it up, but we do appreciate the best effort. Just one last question, or my first one. The Chinese pistache tree here, is that the color year-round, or is that a fall color?
One more time?
The Chinese pistache tree, the red tree, is it that color year-round, or is it a fall color?
You know what, I'm not sure on that. I can check with my landscaping architect and get back to you
Okay.
on that.
We appreciate the color that you want to bring to the shopping center as well. But the more greenery we can get in there, as Commissioner Lopez had said earlier, the better, because it definitely needs it, the area. Thank you.
I do have another question for staff. Did we look at potentially switching? I see the drive-through goes in through the parking lot, and I know there's a 13-car stacking. Do we feel like that's enough, or did we look at alternates where maybe the traffic flowed in through the north and south? Or does our staff feel like, because I know 8 is a requirement, this has 13, right? Are we confident? I mean,
Yes,
you're a
so-
Habit franchise
Yeah,
owner.
so for our brand, for the Habit, usually we do walk without drive-through, and now we start doing drive-through since COVID. And our dine-in is about 50%, and our takeout is 25%. Our drive-through numbers are pretty low. So having 8, 9 is like, for us, it's more than sufficient.
Okay.
So here we're providing 13, and we're not a Starbucks, we just get a lot of dine-in, that's
Do.
what, yeah.
And another question for staff, do we know the width? Let me tell you, when I have a big truck, and when I go to the Jack in the Box on Paris, I sweat every time I go through. I close my eyes and pray for the best. Do we know what the turning radius is on this drive-through? Is it like a comfortable for somebody with a big car? Because I
Yes,
sweat.
It should be comfortable, though Jack in the Box is not the best example because that's a very old project.
Let me tell you, I'm like,
So-
girls, nobody make noise. Everybody quiet, turn off the
Yes.
radio, and let me just sweat in peace.
Even for my small compact car, I find it very dangerous
Yes.
to drive.
Okay, because every time I see a drive-through, I think I have PTSD from that drive-through now. So
Yeah.
this one is a comfortable.
The turning radius or the knuckle that's provided is 21 feet radius.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
She's revealing
thinking
a lot
about you.
She's revealing a lot of stuff now. I'm writing it down, okay?
I'm telling you, it's PTSD. So, okay, I'll leave it up to you all.
Just for my clarification, the lighting, was it parking lot and security lighting or accent lighting for landscaping and the building?
Yes, yes.
All the
Everything you
above.
said and extra.
Ah, okay.
All the above. Shively.
So Commissioner Gomez actually pointed to what I was going to say is that this building itself, it does not go together with the other buildings on the site. So I'm hoping that it can be reviewed and color scheme or something that can tie it all together. We're using brick. I don't think there's any brick anywhere else in the area, so maybe we can change that palette to something else.
Yeah, staff can definitely work with the applicant on the elevations and the architectural treatments to make it more consistent with the previously
building
approved multi-tenant buildings.
Yeah, that's what my question was with the Habit and there, because I know there's requirements and color schemes and they have to look a certain way when it's a restaurant. But I don't know if it has to extend to the rest of it or if we can make it match
Yeah,
the nice ones, not the older stuff, but
correct.
the newer developments.
Yeah.
I think the applicant's open to incorporating elements of the other complex, so we can just phrase it in that way, then, yeah.
And we didn't have too much, I don't recall us having too much of a saying on the KFC. No. But we have a chance here. So I would like to try to tie this into the other elements of the site to kind of at least try to somewhat coherently blend it together. And then also the landscaping trees, we need to make sure that the trees and parking trees are compliant with the Cal Green and the coverage, 50% coverage in the trees.
Yeah, that's another headache.
Oh, and make sure we don't have any palm trees too.
Yes. Fortunately not.
No African sumac, no palm trees.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I almost thought you almost got off easy, except for me.
One more question.
Yes.
Is any of the proposed landscape artificial?
No.
Okay, good. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. No more Mr. Nice Twain. No, I'm just kidding. Potential corrections before I get to it.
Yes.
COA number 31 talks about Old Nuevo Road. Am I wrong? We need, it makes reference to Old Nuevo Road. I think that's another project. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, that's in and out. Orange is there. Then you have, obviously, Paris Boulevard. Then you have the frontage, which is way down. Indian. So I'm just saying, it says Old Nuevo. I'm just saying, is that out of place? I think it's 31, COA number 31.
You mean 33, condition 33, reciprocal access?
Well, it says, where it says the Old Nuevo, I think it's number 31, unless I'm missing it.
33.
33, okay.
Yes, thank you for the
Yeah,
correction.
33, thank you.
Yes.
I know, I'm picky. I'm
No, it's
petty.
quite all right. No.
I'm very petty. One thing, too, a consideration, this is city. 29 landscaping, and I brought this up pre-meeting, number G. I know there's no public works requirement, that's why I wasn't put there, but I personally, and I'll see how these guys feel, like to maintain the language about one-year landscaping, because I won't talk about Nuevo Road and what's the problems there. I'll leave that alone, because I just threw that in. But landscaping is really beneficial here, so it's maintaining it. That's not even asking much 1 year. But maintaining it in writing as a condition of approval, and that one-year landscaping thing is all the projects. We pick on them all. So this isn't just Alexander, every one of them. It's important because this is inside the shopping center, which can really go south quickly. And right now it's a joke. Okay, it's a joke, you know. And I was there pre-Walmart, so how old I am, right, and ancient. So I know what it looked like before that stuff came in. Even when they came in, they weren't maintaining it. So now it's a good thing on Paris Boulevard, but this is high profile, and it's going to be seen. And it was supposed to be a medical or some office building there, and I don't know what happened to that guy. That happens all the time. But now you're coming in, so that obviously we want to make sure that it's some kind of maintenance, that language could be there to where it just states, not quoting the Public Works, but at least 1 year maintenance should be maintained. So the language is there, but 1 year maintenance maintained. That's a simple request. I do, and that was the only two things before we get to discussion, but I think that one correction, because I looked over, wait, am I missing something here? And the landscaping language, which I think is easy, could be added. Okay. And I think some of the things have been discussed before we get in discussion, but one of the things discussed, and I agree with Mr. Lopez, the north side is kind of blank. And whether it's bricks from our architect here, whether it's bricks, stones, or other kind of things, that would really, because this sits out by itself. This isn't someplace, this is standing out. Forget about what the Wells Fargo looks like. Forget about all this other stuff to the west, and I won't even comment about that stuff. But this is going to stand out, and you have people dining. So this is a little different. So we're going to push more on this one than some of the other ones, because this is going to stand out. So I think the idea of the north side, you're facing it south, which is important, but the north side shouldn't just be left that open, because the cars are going to be driving. So whether it's landscaping, whether it's design in stucco, whether it's design in bricks, or whatever other kind of thing, that's a staff thing here to work with. We will trust the staff, I'm assuming. And that's it for me. So I'm not going to prolong that. I think a lot of the other stuff was picked up on. So when we get to discussion, we'll deal with that. But right now, those are two things that we just need to add to this, because I didn't see anything else that was any significance. Okay. So unless there's anything else, I'm done with the applicant. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we move to public comment. We move to public comment on this side. Anyone that's willing to address I know. Not you. Anyone willing to, not the city, okay?
Pop quiz.
Right, well, he is a public, but no. Anyone wishing to address the public is welcome to come forward now and on this particular agenda item. If not, we will close the public comment portion. We already closed the public hearing and bring it to discussion for the Planning Commission.
I just want to start off by saying I'm happy to see a habit coming to the city. I do go there regularly, so it's a great restaurant. Now I don't have to drive as far. But yeah, I like the project. Just addressing those two concerns that I had, the landscaping and then the north elevation of it, up to the city staff's discretion. I'm okay with that. And yeah, that's it. Everything else seems okay to me.
The first ever Habit that I went to is in the city of Fresno, because that's where my parents live. And my stepdad loves to explore new food places. He's not even a self-proclaimed foodie, but he is. And he took us to the Habit there, and we really liked it. So my kids, who are very picky, love to go to the Habit, and I know I already know how much I'm going to pay when I go there, but it's definitely worth the price, right? So in combination with the Habit, the In-N-Out that's coming in, and we have the Raising Cane's coming in. We already have Chick-fil-A and these other, we have more places to go to. And I don't want to hear that it's not healthy because they have a lot of salads on their menu. But I do appreciate the fact that the tenant was just more than willing to do whatever we would like to be able to get it done. I'm happy to assume that those are his sons, so I know that this is a family franchise, so that's good to know, because we have pride in family businesses, even though it's not a small one, but it is a family business either way. And so the fact that we are asking for lighting and for it to be green is because we would like you to be a leader in showing what your building should look like. what your business should look like and bringing a standard, intimidate the ones around you into looking better, right? So I think that would definitely bring that type of a positive challenge, and you're going to have some really, you have definitely, I'm sure that you're aware that there's there's like an attraction coming there as well, a family place, the jump zone or whatever. Then you have the gym, so you're going to have Hungry Builders, and there's an apartment complex coming up there too. So this is a very good, obviously positioned yourself very well. But if you can continue to be a leader in that area, that would be wonderful. And the more you can do to fix that asphalt, that would be wonderful as well. So thank you. Welcome to the City of Paris.
Yeah, I would like to echo what my fellow commissioner said. I think we are all on the same page as far as landscaping. So when somebody else brings it up and it's not always me, it feels really good. But yes, I agree with Commissioner Gomez. You're setting the standard for that area because the buildings around there are not aesthetically pleasing. And honestly, if you are, us humans are very much creatures of looking for things that are beautiful. So if you step out of the family attraction, you step out of the gym and you're looking around, you're gonna get attracted to things that are pretty, lit up, nature. So that alone is gonna attract more foot traffic at these locations. And I think the past couple of years, I know since I've been on the Planning Commission, we have really tried to beautify our city and really take us to that next level. And everything that is built, every time, you're lucky you came now, because if you came next year, we might have been a little bit crazier. Our standards are always going up because we see things that are beautiful. We want to make really our city stand out. We're very prideful of our city. We take a lot of pride in working in the commission and really making our city stand out. When people think of Paris very many years ago, you got one reaction where I think we have seen a shift in that, where now people say Paris and they're like, oh, you guys have this, you guys have this, you guys have this, this is pretty. Coworkers that I work in the northern part of Paris, when we go on trips and we go to the new locations, they're like, oh, this wasn't here when I started working here 10 years ago. So now it's bringing a lot more foot traffic. So I really appreciate you working with staff. Staff, we have full faith in you. We do. To work with them, and really, you know what we're looking for. You've seen examples, you've heard us. So we have full faith that when this is built, it's going to have a positive influence on the locations around you, and it's really going to beautify this area. And when the whole area is more beautified, if that's a word, then it's going to have even more people in that area. So thank you for considering this area.
So it's nice to see an area that's pretty popular, lots of foot traffic, a lot of automobile traffic. They actually see something actually going to be built there that's that for so many years, as long as I can ever remember, that there's things that were supposed to go there but never were built. It's actually see something to come to fruition that will actually be to allow everybody to come in and enjoy another restaurant, and hopefully, I don't know if you have any other two tenants or what you plan on doing with the other two spaces, but I'm sure those two spaces will be successful in the space as well. As it's a growing area, we got new things going on in that area. So I think it's going to be very successful as long as we can successfully incorporate the color scheme and material scheme into the existing building, the surrounding area. I think it'll be good. Thank you.
Yes, and just piggybacking on what they said, one of the things I like about this, not to mention it's been dirt for years. I do have a quick question before I make that comment for the engineer. I'm going to wake you up. Yeah. How would the drainage be on this project? Because there's no detention basin, so would they have to? How are they going to do this one? Get into
Drainage, actually, Chair Hammond, the drainage is already established. So the conveyance system is in place. So they don't need actually to do anything additional because it'd be actually conveyed via the pavement that is in place, and there's a point of discharge along Paris Boulevard and Orange.
So there's a pipe leading to, it's not Line D or anything like this.
There is a system in Paris Boulevard.
I mean, to get to Paris Boulevard, they have to put in,
Need a specific.
they don't?
They don't need a specific inlet or conveyance system. The parking lot is such that it would actually drain the site to an outlet.
Walmart used to be like a lake in the 90s, and you used to have to get a rowboat when it rained. And so, obviously, with Harbor Freight and the other ones coming, oh, it was really bad, guys. Harbor Freight and all the other ones have come in, and then those seasons, that's all changed. But I didn't know there was a line that they would.
That's a line, and actually in front of Walmart and Aldi, there's a box, a channel, and a box in front conveying the runoff. Correct. And that's everything would drain into that area.
Okay. One of the things I like is and it's been piggyback, I won't prolong it, is that sense of place. You need, one of the things, and you never know, you may have to blow out the tenant and expand. We want this to be, forget about Marina Valley, forget about, we want this to be number one, so screw them, basically. Really, I'm just being forward. I'm pro Paris to the max. But one of the things about, when we talk about color, we talk about schemes, it's gonna light up. That's why we talk about lighting. This is gonna be a sense of place. So all these people getting in fitness, they're gonna come home and get a hamburger after they do all this exercising. Yeah, right. But when you think of sense of place, and you know what I'm talking about from franchises, you want this to be well lit. You want the outdoor seating to take priority because people are going to want to sit here. You may have to think about fencing it in later, but that's for later. But the idea is you're creating a sense of place, and a place that's kind of dead. I mean, the other places are okay, but they're not really a sense of place. I mean, Domino's Pizza, come on. You go in, you go out. You go in, you go out. This is where you want people to stay. You want them to sit, and you want them to have that sense. So that's why we're pushing a lot of this stuff that we normally wouldn't, but it's in the center. So we really want that to be the notice. So that means landscaping, that means colors, that means lighting is the key to that. So that's why it's pushed so much. But I think we've covered some of the issues that we would add on to the amendment. I think I'm pretty much, everything's been said, not much more to add. And I'll try to go through some of those additional things that you've been beyond what is originally there in the conditional use. But I'm sold on it. I don't have to be sold on it. It's gonna be a lot of competition. Is in and out gonna go, what is this guy's coming in? Good, you have competition, tough. Live with it. If you have other ones coming in, and I know some other names I'm not gonna mention, but the idea is that we are becoming the place 15, 20 years ago we'd be spit on. I ain't kind of Paris, this scumbag. Good, you're not saying that now. All right. So this is a sense of place. What a difference years makes. And as you start getting successes and come in, now they all want to come. Isn't that amazing? They didn't want to come before, now they all want to come. That's the way it goes in cities, right? And we're popular because we're by freeways, easy access, and we're visible. And we got a great sense of staff. We got a great way we run the city. So yeah, I'm PRing the city, okay. We have a great way of doing things here, and that's why they're starting to want to come. In that sense. So with that being said, unless there's anything else to add, I'm going to read this off. Should be easy. Conditional use permit 23-05025, a proposal to construct an 8,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial building consisting of a 3,000 square foot restaurant, the Habit Burger Grill, and 2,500 square foot tenant spaces on an existing 1.16 acre lot within the Paris Spectrum Shopping Center located on the west side of Paris Boulevard and the north side of Orange Avenue in the commercial community zone. Requested action, adopt resolution number 23-31, finding the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, review pursuant to section 15332, infill development projects, and approving CUP 23-05025, based on the findings and subject conditions of approval. One of them is ensure the Cal Green 50% tree coverage in the lot, which I think is mentioned. We want to emphasize that. Looking at the colors in the northern portion, whether it's bricks, stones, and some other kind of landscaping treatment administratively, deal with the staff, but at least dress it up on the north side. Uplighting. Lighting in the parking lot areas to be reviewed. again with staff, but to make sure that it is at its maximum level so we can see this place and notice this place. And again, we're trusting a lot of this with staff, guys. So I know. I know. And again, we're talking about the landscaping, more landscaping if possible. You talked about diamonds, particular diamonds, things of that nature that could be looked at and uplighting there as well. Yeah. And if you have less parking or additional parking, maybe some of that could be looked at and replaced with landscaping. Because of the location of where this is at, we want this to be a premier. Okay? And with that said, I think I added everything. I can't think of anything else unless it was something else. But hopefully I covered everything.
If we can just add your request to, for the maintenance of 1 year.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
also Vice Chair Shively's request for compliance with the California Green Code.
Yeah.
For the parking lot shading trees.
Okay.
Oh, and also the change to condition 33.
No waiver road.
Yes. Thank you.
Thought I was losing my mind there. Okay. And we're ready for a motion. Moved by Commissioner Lopez. Seconded by Commissioner Gomez. To approve, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, this motion is approved.
Thank you and congratulations, guys. We move on to item 7, business items. I don't believe there are any unless someone wants to remind me. Okay. And item 8, public comment, and that might go fast too. Anyone in the public wishing to address the Planning Commission on any topic not related to any of the items, welcome to come forward this time. Seeing none, we move on to item 9, commission members' announcements or reports.
This past weekend, I know the city doesn't hold it, but I was able to go to the SoCal Fair, located at the Paris Fairgrounds. It was lots of fun. I was able to see a lot of the residents there, and I actually saw a lot of the city staff there too. Also, next week is Halloween, so I just want to wish everyone a safe Halloween for all the kiddos being out there going trick-or-treating and people staying at home, passing out candy. Just hope that you guys have a lot of fun and stay safe. Besides that, I hope you all have a good night, and thank you for listening to today's meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. It sounded like a radio host. Thank you for tuning in. City of Paris Commissioner, Planning Commission meeting today. I want to thank staff for always providing the best service possible and guiding the developers. And I know that you are on top of it, just warning them and, telling them, "Yeah, I told you so," kind of thing. So we really appreciate your support, especially when it comes to what we want and is best for our city. I went to the Rods and Wheels event, and it was fun. My kids were like, "What are you doing here?" But as soon as my son started to see the cars, and then my daughter saw the food, and then there was the singers, the era singers that were up there, and we said hi to the mayor. It was really nice, other than the weather. It got a little too hot for my comfort, but it was nice. The baby was out. We were all out. The city booths were out. All the departments were there. It was really this event. I had been wanting to go before, but I never had a chance. But we definitely made the effort. I actually worked that morning, but I only worked for like 2 hours, and we went. We're okay. We're going. It was fun, and I look forward to it next year as well. The Railway Museum was amazing. I got to speak to the staff. I got one of those books, the history books from the city. There's only a few left, so if you want one, go get one, because there's no more after that. So I got one. I got a copy. I did want to direct some questions to staff, and maybe if you could just take a look at these things. There's two of them. The Burlington Shopping Center landscape is just awful. They have, that's why I asked our city staff if they have any artificial landscape on it, because the Burlington Shopping Center does, or it did, and it's gone. And it's really bad. So I'm not sure if we can send somebody out there to take a look at it. The trash is a constant issue. And the reason why I'm asking is because I've already submitted several tickets through the app constantly. And it's always the trash along the gated areas that are not developed yet, along with the sidewalks to the entrances to the actual stores. You're talking about Ross, Ulta, Burlington. I go there, right? I do go shop there. The sidewalks tend to be dirty, where there's spilled drinks upon drinks over, I don't know how long, but it's black and it looks dirty. It needs a lot of attention. Like, really, I don't know how you communicate with the maintenance for that specific shopping center. And the same thing goes for the Walmart shopping center. It's not as bad, but it's a brand new shopping center. I still consider it brand new. And there's no more landscape on the driveway entrance where the palm trees are. It's gone. You see just the lines popping out of the irrigation, and there's no landscape there. And the few areas that do have landscape, it's not too bad. Like, they know how to landscape where you can see it, but if you don't pay attention and you go around the corner and no one says anything because it's kind of hidden. So that entire shopping center also needs a walkthrough to find out what's going on and who is in charge of cleaning what as well. I have made it, I'm bad. I called my local Starbucks regional manager, and I let them know that I was tired of jumping over the dirty syrup spills right in front of the store. And I don't like to step on it because I'm gonna take it to my car. I'm gonna put it in my car. Is it fair to me? No. When I worked for Starbucks, we were told by our managers that we needed to get hot water in the morning. He's nodding his head. Yeah, I worked there for 2.5 years. You get the hot water and soapy water, you add some soap to it, and you run it on the front of the entrance of the storefront. And it's part of having the pride of working there and who you're working for. So have that pride, but I think the city needs to be involved at this point, because if I have to call because it's consistent, it's a problem. And that's not considering the issue with the trash that surrounds the empty areas, the dumping, the illegal dumping, and let's not talk about the trailers right now. I'm not going to talk about that. But those are two of the main things I really wanted to touch upon, and hopefully we can work together with the maintenance in those areas. But have a good night, everybody. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
I am so glad you bring those two up, because I wasn't going to tonight, but I know I was at the red light the other day, and I was looking, there was a bunch of dumping grounds a lot, and I'm like, at least we have this beautiful landscape section, and I'm driving, and I'm like, it doesn't look like I remember. It's not as beautiful. Am I not seeing it anymore? So I'm glad it wasn't me, because I noticed it, and I thought it was my perception of it, because I remember it being beautiful and lush and taken care of. And same thing, I actually shattered my phone screen, what was a screen protector, because there was supposed to be landscape and there's nothing but rocks there. So it actually, you could tell where the little rock hit the front of my screen, because I dropped my phone, where there should have been landscaping. I was not a happy camper. And I am going to bring up those trailers, because I brought them up. I want to know who to contact, because I know I brought them up at the last planning commission meeting, and I know our staff is amazing, so I know you did what you did to do. So I guess I'm asking, who can we as team members reach out to, contact? Do we contact code enforcement? Do we contact, because it's bad. They haven't moved them. They're still there. My husband's a big rig driver, and he doesn't like it either. And especially when we have those regulations and requirements throughout our city, when we let like where we say, we let one person get away with it, everybody's gonna start saying, but they did. They did. When you tell them to stop, I'll stop. And then we start pointing fingers. So there's that. And, you know, I want, be sure you stay out of the heat. We're supposed to be in fall. Our students are very confused because it's fall and they're in shorts. So stay safe, out of the heat. The sun's beaming down extra hard. I don't know what it is about fall hot weather. It's gonna be 95 tomorrow. So stay safe, stay hydrated. And that's, I couldn't make any of this stuff so far from the city, but I see pictures and it's beautiful.
So I also had a good chance to go to the county fair at the fairgrounds this weekend. My daughter participated in the FFA farming, so it's a good chance for the students to become entrepreneurs for a few months. Raise an animal. She did a rabbit and a pig, so she's, you know, so she had that experience. I know the mayor came out and took a couple photo op with all the Heritage High School students and I believe Paris High School students that were there. So that was a good experience, but she learned a lot. And I think she's going to do it again next year, so that's going to be good for her. And also, I believe on the hand that Commissioner Gomez brought it up, but I was actually thinking about bringing it up as well, is that I believe that part of the conditions of approval is that there's a landscape inspection at end of 1 year. Is that occurring? What is the process for that? And is that being followed up on or forgotten, or? Because there's a lot of new landscaping out there that is in bad condition. You can, you can answer it during your turn if you want to. So,
Yeah.
I'll wait for the reply from the attorney. What letter do we need? Who do we go after?
Yeah, I appreciate that. First, I appreciate the patience of staff and all the IT people and our interpreter there. So I promise I won't make this more than 3 hours. No, I'm just kidding. To compartmentalize this, I'm going to say this, and two positive things. One, we have the Veterans Day Parade, and we have Christmas time, holiday, whatever they call it now. So be thinking about those times, our participation in the. We've got I'm not going to talk about the dinner because this is public airways, but essentially we have a wonderful secretary who we take advantage of all the time, and I have for several years. But she works very hard, so she's got that organized. So make sure you contact her. I'm being the positive part. And then November, our veterans is very important because it's a veteran city. So we want to make sure we can do that. I'm getting back into the swing of stuff that I used to go to all the time. I'm starting to get back into that, so that may be the first thing I get into. Couldn't do it last year. I'm sorry. But let me say this too. Not only did the last time I think I mentioned we might need an update at some point in the future, an update on all the projects in the city. So I'm just putting it on record so when we don't have to worry about we didn't notice it. You know, being smart, we have city attorney. Also, the thing about the green, we need to discuss that and have a discussion about that. The third thing is one of the biggest and most disappointing projects is Nuevo Paris. That whole shopping area is an atrocity. If we need to drag him in here, we'll drag him in here. You know, because we'll rake him over the coals, but we've got to do something about the landscaping is horrible on Nuevo. It's the two different colors, because part of it's white building, the other part is the old 1990s color that should be thrown in the trash can. And I can't believe nobody noticed that. I can't be the only one noticed that. But they still got stuff on there that doesn't even exist on the sign. So that whole shopping, I think Ward Development was part of it, but I don't know who does the south. So it is terrible. Across the street, Sater Brothers is immaculate landscaping. Can you believe it? They don't even have the money that they have. But north is horrible. So we're putting in these projects, and it's horrible landscaping. I don't know who's in charge. I don't know who's doing it, but they're just not maintaining it. And for a while, we had homeless, nothing picking on homeless, but they were putting their carts right there by the bus stop, and nobody cares. So you can't keep talking about we're up and up and up, and then we have things that look like that when you enter the city. That's the problem when you enter the city. So that whole thing, the dual colors is one problem, but the landscaping, that's a code enforcement issue. Need to see some letters going. And if they have to come from us, we'll do it, okay? But that is a problem. Essentially, that's the only major concern here because projects are coming in. We're very high notice now. I'm not getting complaints like I did 15 years ago, Paris. Not anymore. When are you going to open this? When are you going to open that? When are you going to open that? That's the difference. But now the expectations are all being, why do you have this look like that? Don't look at me. You know, graffiti under underpasses like over where I'm at, you don't even know who to call because it's Metrolink. Caltrans isn't going to do anything. Metrolink's over there. It's RCTC. So you even have that on the underpasses on graffiti that's going on. So we got to watch something. But my main concern is Nuevo, Paris, and that shopping center. It's not the Spectrum. It's whatever that's called over there. But where you have the Rite Aid, where you have all those businesses in there, they're not doing anything. Plaza, they're not doing anything. The colors, the signs are fading. You know, so it's kind of a all over problem. I don't know. We'll be a discussion with them. That may be a workshop, but we really need to get on them about that because if we're noticing it, everybody's noticing that. That's just one of those issues. So beyond that, things should start cooling down in weather later. I think hopefully we're gonna start feeling like fall. Yeah. So I appreciate everything, and I think probably said enough, but we've upped the bar, we've upped the standards, so that means code enforcement are going to adapt to the standard, and the rest of them got to keep up with us because we're way, 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 way up here. The bar has been set. With that, make sure you watch this council stuff too because it's good to get knowledge from. They have a person that's the representative, I think, for this kind of a legislative analyst, a person that's going, that they were talking about a lot of these, and you know, SB, they said, oh my gosh, 15 of these, they got a person assigned to do it. And so some of this is like scary, but local control and housing seem to be major issues. And I mentioned it a long time ago, said housing, and this is gonna come from the state, it's coming from the state now. So we gotta watch the multi-family housing stuff is gonna be an issue. Low income, quote unquote, is gonna be an issue. So all these projects for single family, you have to start saying multifamily, 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 multifamily. How you get low income? Good luck, because that state has to give us the money. So if they want it, you give us the resources, the grant. But that's a whole nother presentation. But if it's going to affect us, then it changes our whole dynamic about what we start approving. Because all we're seeing is houses. And our kids aren't going to be able to go into them. So they're going to hit the road, Jack. Not go to Texas, hopefully. But they're going to the road if we don't have things for them to do, and low-income folks are being wiped out. So we got a real problem that's going to affect this commission about approving stuff. What do you do? So anyway, I got off my platform. Say good luck for the rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of the month. We won't meet again until November, and I leave it with you. How do you follow that one? I don't know. So, direct. And good seeing Mr. Fung came to join us. Wanted to check up on us. But we leave it with you guys.
I'll go ahead and give you an update for the next meeting, which will be on November 1st. We have the continuance for the major modification that was continued today for IDI project. We also have 2 scoping sessions for warehouses for the November 1st meeting. And for events coming up, we have the Halloween Harvest Festival on October 20th, which is Friday. Yeah, the 20th is Friday, right? It's going to be a spectacular family event. We also have a Gear Up Lake Paris on Saturday, October 21st, where the City of Paris invites you to ride the Lake Paris Loop Trail. So that should be fun too. And that's from, check-in starts at 8 a.m. So it's an early start. And the last event I wanted to make a note of is a training opportunity, active shooter training. And this is going to be done also on October 21st at 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's going to be here in the council chambers. And it's an invitation for anybody who would like to prepare and prevent and react during any active shooter event. So, and that's all I have to report.
I thought you meant active shooting event. I said, wait a minute, in the council chamber? What's going on here?
It's a training session.
Good evening, Chairman Hammond, members of the Planning Commission. Just want to let you know that Patricia will be taking some vacation time, very needed. So I'll be here at the next Planning Commission meeting to fill her role here. She's doing a great job, so she can take care of these meetings. So I'll be here for the next meeting on November 1st. Just in response to some of the questions you had, I just want to provide some answers for you in terms of the one-year landscape maintenance district. How that process works is they plant the landscaping. Our inspectors goes back on periodic visits. At the end of the 1 year, if the landscaping is not maintained, they have to replant. And if they don't do it, then it just continues on that process. So if things aren't completed, sometimes the annexation, the city don't officially take it over. We don't become responsible for it until we feel that the landscaping has been maintained for at least a year period. So maybe that's the reason why you're seeing the situation you're seeing, because we're just not accepting until we get a planting material that kind of stabilizes. So that's the process for that. In terms of Paris de Plaza, I just want to let you know that code enforcement is working on it. It's an active case. Just want to let you be aware of that. There is a committee that's represented by 2 of our council members that takes care of these, what we call our beautification items. So there is a committee that kind of monitored these activities, including graffiti along the freeway or in the Caltrans area. So there is a committee that deals with that. I just wanted you to be aware of that. I think with that said, I think I answered the questions I can answer for you tonight. Any additional question, we'll follow up for the next meeting.
And to our planning director, we do have Zoom, so you could be on vacation and still Zoom us, okay? Not a possibility, okay?
Not sure about internet access.
Good response to the seminar.
I would say we would prefer her international rate to be here.
Good idea, okay.
I will need a translator since.
Nice try. Okay. Well, anyway, it's been a great evening. Thank you for the commissioners for all your input. And we will see you again in November. And some of these events up until November, enjoy it. And definitely the Veterans Parade. We want to show up to honor them. And we've got a lot of events coming on the rest of the year. But hopefully we'll get an update on some of these. Hopefully we're not going to be here till 12. We'll get an update on some of the things going on that in the city for the rest of the year. And that have been going on that are very positive. That way you get asked about all the time and say, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I don't want them telling me, I want to know before they know. So, so things are coming up, things are looking good, very positive. And with that, get plenty and thank you to our secretary, planning secretary. We want to give you, let's give her a hand. Good job. Yeah. It's before 12 midnight, so don't look at me like that. With that, and thank you to our city attorney, who left me alone. I can't believe it. He's being nice. Yeah. Yeah. That's what this is for, right? With that, we have an adjournment, and pick anybody you want. So we're adjourned. Thank you.